Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to my humble abode. It's PSGL night. It's Thursday night. We are at Suzuka, Japan, and I'm once again joined by the Irishman, Jack Kinnan. Jack, how you doing, sir?
Absolutely brilliant, George. Thank you for asking. Yeah, it's going to be fantastic today. Suzuka, so iconic. Everyone loves this track. We've seen so many titles go down to the wire here, especially with Prost versus Senna in 1989. So hopefully we get something similar today. We haven't got a championship to decide, but we certainly have one that's now wide open, because after the previous round, of course, Barry being missing, Philip Preschnader now leads the championship, and he has even more of an opportunity to try extend that today. Of course, with Barry being missing, Jarno also going to be missing for that, of course, with the Formula E commitments, but we'll still have a great race. We had a phenomenal race last time. Hopefully we can have something similar today.
Oh yeah, without a shadow of a doubt. But I have to say, despite the absences, we're still getting some incredible action here at PSGL. It never ceases to amaze as myself and Jack get to commentate this week in, week out, every Thursday, and it's been absolutely brilliant to see. Of course, obviously, Barry Burman, who's been missing over the past few weeks, of course, has lost his P1 spot. Philip Preschnader has now snatched it, at least for now, and Barry Burman currently sitting in P2. I did get a message off Barry last night. He is really keen to get back to PSGL as quickly as possible. He is missing it, Jack, and I'm sure he'd be dying to get back in that seat to once again challenge Philip Preschnader.
Yeah, absolutely. He had such a big lead going around to the championship, but now he has even more of a challenge. If he comes back in the next few weeks, he has an opportunity to try and bring the fight to Philip Preschnader. But Philip has got the job done. He's had a few bad races, but he's scored the points, and he's managed now to get himself at the top of the standings, which is exactly what he needs to do. But the race last time, I mean, what can we say about it? Just absolutely phenomenal. And Nicholas Mateo was the man who came out on top in the end. And of course, he's back today. There was a Spanish 1-2 last time. And Danny Moreno, of course, getting across the line first, but with the penalty, got demoted to basically outside the top 10. So we've got anything can happen, but it was Nicholas Mateo securing his first ever win in PSGL. And it's blown things wide open.
It has. It was also a win for Williams at the same time. Alvaro Carreton, of course, his teammate was up there too. It was absolutely sensational to watch this race unfold. Nicholas Mateo doing himself extremely proud. We've watched him race so many times before, Jack. We've always said before that he's got the quality, the consistency. The penalties have let him down in the past, but it was a very polished driving performance from him. Everything seemed to fall into place.
It really did, yeah. He did an excellent job. He kept himself patient behind Danny Moreno the whole way through. And of course, last time we had a first-time podium as well in the form of Matthias van Erven, of course, who's not here today, but nonetheless, he did a great job getting his first podium as well. Philip Preschnader getting a top 5 in the end in 5th place, and Leveche got his best finish as well. So plenty of best finishes around the order, but it was a win for Nicholas Mateo and a podium for Matthias van Erven, who is missing today, but we're going to have a fantastic race coming up for you at Suzuka. Suzuka always gives great races and iconic sectors. We've got a dry session as well for Q1. Of course, we have a full qualifying format here at PSGL. So get set, Q1. Expect guys out on the inters for the first run and have a drifting session for the first couple of minutes.
Certainly will, absolutely. And the sun is shining here at Japan. Obviously, say a big hello to everyone in the live chat as well. Please make yourselves known. We'd like to hear from you guys as well as to your predictions going through qualifying. Of course, we've got a very competitive grid in PSGL, probably one of the most competitive grids in PC League racing without a shadow of a doubt. And we're very, very happy to bring you, and delighted, in fact, to bring you the best in online league racing on the F1 platform. And certainly it's been absolutely scintillating this season. Drama aplenty, and that's exactly what we signed up for, that's for sure. Jack, looking at Suzuka, of course, one of my personal favourites. Lots of varying corners. You've got hairpins, you've got chicanes, you've got nice long straights. Plenty of places to get overtakes done.
Yeah, absolutely is. Yeah, there's loads of places to have a go around here. Of course, it's quite Monza-esque in some sectors as well, especially Degner 1, Degner 2, basically the exact same as Monza with Lesmo 1 and Lesmo 2. You've got that fast-flowing section at the back through Spoon and down towards the iconic 130 or Casio Triangle. It's a great circuit, very, very high speed, plenty of opportunities for overtaking. Turn 1, of course, if you're brave, you can go around the outside line right there. But after you go through turn 1, that first part of the Senna S's is just, there's no way through there. So it's going to be a kind of a train through there until you get up past the Degners, past the hairpin, and get the run down towards 130R. So there is particular overtaking opportunities, but there's one particular sector we're going to see the train. That is in the Senna S's as well. So plenty to keep your eye on, but it's going to be fast and furious as it was in Monza.
Certainly is. We are obviously in the early stages of Q1 now, and as you can see from our camera shots, there's Alvaro Carreton. Of course, was in the fray of battling last time. Of course, he's got the intermediate tyres on, just getting himself ready, getting himself psyched up. And they basically try and set their sights here at Japan, utilising the inters just to not waste a set at the start of qualifying. Obviously, the usage of tyres in a long quali situation is absolutely vital, Jack. I can certainly play a massive hand into the strategies we're about to see today.
Yeah, it really is. Of course, going out in the intermediate tyres is a strategy of one, just getting a sighter lap in, but also saving a set of dry tyres. Of course, an extra set of soft tyres can make all the difference. In case you, for example, mess up a lap and you've used up a set already, you can come back in and put an extra set on. So it is a strategy that you won't see in real life F1. This is exclusively an esports type strategy of going out on the intermediate tyres in the dry to save a set of dry tyres. But you know well that if they were allowed to do it in real F1, they would.
They certainly would, absolutely. And obviously, any loophole, any breakages or differences in the game that these guys can exploit for the betterment is certainly what they'll try and do. But I have to say, nothing wrong with what they're doing here, that's for sure. And if they're all doing it, at the end of the day, it means that we're going to be seeing a very equal footing amongst all of these guys. As we're now witnessing Carreton make his way around the next right. Of course, these being the Degners. Before he now reaches the hairpins. And here we can now see Carreton in front, and in behind him, I believe that's Fabrizio Donoso as well in behind as well, who is a master when it comes down to using the intermediate tyres.
Yeah, he absolutely is. He's one of my my favourites to go on board with when he's on intermediate tyres. He does love to throw it around a little bit for the fun of it. There's our first time lap on the dries with Jorge Albarola, who steps in at Alfa Romeo this week as well. I think we've got 2 reserves at Alfa Romeo this week in the form of Jorge Albarola and Joshua Kazani, who joins Alfa Romeo for today as well. We also have a debutant as well in the Alpha Tauri. Some of you may know him as Jakey B. It's Jake Benham joining Alpha Tauri.
Yeah, well, we do have an update, folks. Obviously, we're currently reading that as Nicholas Mateo up on our screen. That does mean that I believe in the Alpha that's just set the time, Jack, can you just relay to the broadcasting public as to who that is that's just nailed the time in P1?
That would be Jorge Albarola. So somebody's been a naughty boy and he's using the same number as each other. So that is the issue there with the overlay. Of course, if 2 drivers are running the same number, it lists them down as the same driver. So Alpha Tauri currently P2 is Jorge Albarola in the 34 car. And the other one, of course, being Joshua Kazani, who's P18. So we'll just keep that in mind, folks. Apologies for that. But the drivers have been naughty again.
Yeah, absolutely. It's happened before, obviously, folks. So that is Jorge Albarola in P2 for Alfa Romeo. There you could see Hannon, who's now up into P1. Obviously, 1.3 seconds, the delta gap in between him and Albarola. And that is due to the fact, obviously, that obviously they're on Inter. Still no lap times posted yet that can be considered fast times. Obviously, we'll wait until the latter stages of Q1 to really see the soft tyres come into play. And that is when they'll be really fighting it out to try and get themselves into the top echelons of this classification. And there you can see Alessio Di Capua as well. There in P... Well, he hasn't set a time yet, but he's gone purple in the first 2 sectors. Driving the AlphaTauri here today, Jack.
That's not Di Capua, I'm afraid. That is Jake Benham, Jakey B. So obviously a lot of drivers are sort of running duplicate numbers today, so that's going to cause some havoc, unfortunately, for everyone watching at home. So the second Alpha Tauri is Jake Benham. Of course, Jakey B jumping across from Xbox to debut here in PSGL PC, so hopefully he manages to get around nicely today. But currently right now it's Joe Hannon who currently has the fastest time at the moment. Of course, he has set that on the intermediate tyres. Tom Martinez, of course, Tom 97, sitting in second place at the moment, but still on those inters. Of course, he explained if you of course, are looking for somebody to watch after all these races are done, do recommend Tom's highlights on YouTube. Of course, you can check him out there, Tom97 on YouTube. But great to get another view of the drivers the whole way through. And certainly Tom's Monza was certainly very, very hectic coming through from the last row of the grid to get himself a points finish. But he also says that the intermediate runs is more like getting a sighter lap in and also just making sure that you've got an extra set of soft tyres to use. But actually, at the moment, we've only had 3 drivers actually set a time. So a lot of the guys who went out on intermediates actually didn't bother to cross the start-finish line. So they're going to come straight back in. Both set of soft tyres on, 10 minutes left in Q1. And, of course, the bottom 5 get eliminated. So we're going to wait to see who's going to be in there at the end of this one.
Absolutely. And still only Martinez and Joshua Kazani currently out on laps at the moment. Kazani just out on an out lap, and we will keep you up to date, folks, with what's going on between this lot as well. And there you can see a few cars leaving the garage, but there is Kazani just making his way around Spoon Curve. And as they do so, you want to make sure that you're careful over hitting that curb on the inset, because it can send you spinning. As the Alfa Romeo now makes its way down this long stretch, of course, being the 130R before he reaches the Casio Triangle chicane. And, of course, you've got to be very, very steady entering that sector of the track, because, obviously, if you leave the brakes too late, you can overshoot the corner, and it can cost you a hell of a lot of time, Jack. That Casio Triangle is going to be very key, certainly, because as you enter the straight, you've then got DRS.
Yeah, absolutely. It's very, very, very crucial to get an exit out of the Casio Triangle as well. They have been told, of course, drivers' briefing, that they have to do their very best to remain all 4 wheels on, or at least 2 wheels on the circuit through the Casio Triangle, because there's, of course, they will be pushing the limit in qualifying, but when you're racing side by side, it's very, very easy to just run out of room when you're going side by side to the Casio Triangle. So they have been told to do their best to remain on the circuit through the Casio Triangle especially, and of course, as always, to respect the pit exit line as well. They will be watching that one as well, because it does carry on for a little bit long down towards turn 1, so they have to remain to the right hand side for a set amount of time before they can jump across. But we have now most guys everyone's now out on the dry tires, and we're going to wait to see who's going to be the first person to come across the start finish line to set or begin a hot lap around here. We haven't had a hot lap around here just yet, but I believe it's going to be Yari in the Renault who's going to kickstart Q1 properly.
He certainly will, and there he is coming across the line. In fact, he's just going to go out and set his delta time, so I believe it is going to be Joshua Kazani who's going to kick us off here, Jack, as he now crosses the line now. And without any further ado, no, he will commence the time now, 141.964. I believe that might have been an invalidation. Not overly sure about that. He's still at the bottom end. Or whether that was an outlap, I'm not quite sure. But here comes Nicholas Matteo. Kazani is on the top of the billing at 126.1. Superb by Joshua Kazani. Gets us underway. That's the first time in the bag here, Jack.
Absolutely, yeah, but we have Yari Fitz. He's gone a lot quicker in sector number 1. Takes the purple away from him at 30.8 in the first sector. So good stuff from Yari Fitz in the Renault. So we'll see what he's able to do in sector number 2. So it is purple for him in the first sector. It's very close across the board, a couple of thousands. He's actually currently quicker just by about 7,000ths of a second than Flores Vares, who has the second fastest time through the first sector. But plenty more to come, but Yari Fitz is going to be the second person to get us underway here in qualifying, heading down towards 130R now. Looking really good so far for him. He sets a 38.631 in the middle sector, which is now not purple as Leveche takes it off him. So expect some close times here as they head through the Casio Triangle. It's not an invalidation, but it will be a good time. It'll go to maybe to the top 25.5, half a second quicker than Kazani. Currently the fastest time, but it will surely be taken off. But Leveche couldn't quite get it off in 300ths of a second. So Yari Fitz remains fastest in Q1, but right now we're focused on the bottom 5. We've got to make sure that we get 15 drivers through, 5 go out, and the man who wants to get out of Q1, George, is Josh Idawu. He was knocked out last week. Yeah,
he certainly does. Redemption on the mind, certainly, of Josh Idawu, as we're now watching Caraton coming through as well. He's about to come across the line now, and Caraton goes into P1 with a 125.356. just under 2/10 quicker than Yari Fitz. Dario Imulo there in P5, just under 4/10 slower than that of Caraton there. But sensational there for the Spaniard Alvaro Caraton, basically following on from what happened last week. He was right there in the midst of it. Josh Idawu up into P2 there with just under 1/10 of a second in behind that. But there goes Joe Hannon up into P2 now as well. And literally the minuscule of gaps in between him and Caraton. Sensational.
Yeah, just 200. Good effort by Joe Hannon, I must say, in the Alpha Tauris. If he remains there, get himself out of Q1, would be a great effort. He took the purple first sector, and now Preshnader also took the purple first sector, but he's invalidated his run, so he's charging up the ERS to go again. But the fastest sector 2 was gone to Danny Moreno, and there you go, goes to the top of the standings by 2/10 of a second. So Moreno now on form once again and currently fastest in Q1, but we're yet to see some times from Donoso, who now begins his hot lap. Lewis Welch, he's out on a hot lap as well, as is Jake Benham as well. So plenty more to keep your eyes on as we look now to see how Donoso's getting on in that first sector. Not quite as quick as the fastest. He's about 2/10 off in the first sector compared to the fastest man at the moment. But it should still be enough. All he needs to do, really, is get himself in the top 15, which he should be able to do. But we had a surprise last week with Josh Idawu getting knocked out. So you cannot call yourself safe at any point, as Nicholas Mateo goes to 4th, just 7 thousandths off the back of Joe Hannon.
He is indeed. Nicholas Mateo following on from his great performance last week at Italy. As we're now seeing Donoso now rounding, now heading down the stretch. And looking to now go through the 130R, of course, in the Renault. Looking further down as well, Floris Viers was out on a hot lap as well. And he's still yet to post a time. Chana Kinchi out on an out lap too. And we're just waiting to see now what Donoso can pull off here. Green in the first 2 sectors, not a purple yet, as he now rounds the final corner. And very shortly will post his first time. And he goes to the P5 at 125.399. And half a second separating the top 9, Jack. So very, very tight indeed. But Moreno ahead by near enough 2.5 tenths. So the Mercedes driver has started extremely well.
Yeah, certainly is. So he's got a nice gap over everybody at the moment with that 2/10 of a second. Lewis Welch popping into 9th there, 25.55. And there's 4 drivers there within the same 10th of a second. Tom Martinez did a nice, with a good effort so far, 7th place for him. Just shy of Josh Idawu by about 1/10 of a second. So he's currently in at the moment, but still no times from Jake Benham, no time from Floris, from Chana Kinchi, and crucially, Philip Preshnader, he's got to go again. He invalidated his run, so now it basically will all come down to this run, because he will not have time to go around, set a lap, and come back in and go out again, as this will be his last run. If he invalidates this one, then he will be knocked out in Q1. It would be a big, big loss for him, of course. He's leading the championship, but he's not leading by much. He needs as many, many points as he possibly can heading into the next few rounds, of course. And remember, of course, folks, that we have extended the calendar by 2 rounds to go an extra 2 weeks. The drivers voted and added 2 extra races to the calendar, which is exactly what we wanted to see as well.
Absolutely. It means an extended season, folks. Here's Chana Kinchi, who's just coming around the Degners now, making his way up towards the hairpin bend, and we're going to let loose our halo graphic as we now watch him come up towards the hairpin bend now. And this is between turns 10 and 11, making his way around the corner now, up through towards turn 12. And there you can see ahead of him right now, looks to be, it is indeed a Haas car, who's just blocking off Chana Kinchi there. Not ideal. Now that's going to upset things, certainly for Chana Kinchi. I think he was on a fast lap, in fact, Jack. So that could be controversial. Oh my word! Very close.
I'm a little bit confused right now, George. I think there could be desync going on in the lobby at the moment. Not quite sure, but I think that could be desync that we're looking at right there, because I actually couldn't see that car at all going down there. Chana Kinchi comes across the line, goes to 7th, so it didn't hinder him at all, really, in that one. 25.528. He goes just behind his teammate, Josh Idawu. So good effort from Chana Kinchi. He did a great job last week to go through into Q3. He made it into at Monza and outperformed a lot of the drivers, of course, last time. But he's now at McLaren with Josh Idawu. So we'll see what he's able to do from there. But last few minutes of qualifying right now, it's crunch time for the bottom 5. Let's see who makes it in.
Absolutely. Donoso's retired as well, so he's comfortable in that P5 spot for now. But of course, a lot can happen here at Suzuka. Plenty of cars still out on track. And Chanakinchi up into P7, just in behind Josh Idawu. And as we're now seeing as well, Tom Martinez out on a night lap as well. Yari Fitz out as well as Lewis Welch. Domenico Lavecce is out and about as well. And so is Kazani. Dylan Warren as well down in P17. Still yet to get out of the drop zone. And also we've got the AlphaTauri, not to mention Flores Fiers and Ruben Vallejo still yet to post times. After Flores Fiers has obviously invalidated his previous time. Ruben Vallejo, very quick driver as well on his day. And both racing points currently in the drop zone, Jack. That's not an ideal start for them.
No, absolutely not. But they made a great recovery a couple of weeks ago, of course, when they qualified not well, but they managed to get themselves up into the points. So it's not all said and done for the racing point, but they do need a result here. And Dylan Warren, he's on a personal best lap right now. He's up on his best time, which is exactly what he needs to do. We know Dylan has got the pace to get in there. While we were chatting there for just a moment, Philip Preschnader safely in, and Jake Benham, third place for Jake, 25.31 in the AlphaTauri. And he should be now perfectly safe through into Q2 on his debut. Currently the man who's right on the bubble at the moment is Andreas Dormeyer in the Mercedes. And we'll see if he's able to stay in. Dario Yamulo out at the moment as Tom 97 pops up to 12th and Dormeyer actually pops up to 10th. So he is in, but it is such fine margins. Just a 10th of a second is all that separates them as they now... Ruben Vallejo, great lap from Ruben. Second place he goes to in Q1. Dylan Warren out of the Casio triangle now. Let's see if he can get himself into Q2. Comes across the start-finish line. Can he do it? Yes, he can. P8 for Dylan Warren. And that now puts Lucas UK or Lewis Welch into the danger zone in 16th place. He's currently out. He needs to improve. Tom Martinez is the man in danger, but this is now really, really good stuff from the racing points. Much better performance today.
Yeah, I have to say, it's certainly going to spark up a lot of interest in this, certainly in this championship fight. And I have to imagine it's all going to kick off here. Louis Welch currently out on a hot lap. So we'll keep an eye on this man, of course. A very, very accomplished pad player. As we now witness him come around the next sweep-in right hand of the Haas, looking to get out of the drop zone here, making his way up towards the double left-handers here at Spoon Curve. It's almost like a subtle left-handed kink. Well, they say it's turns 13 and 14 this part. He's coming out of 14 now and speeding down the stretch here in 7th gear, soon up to 8th. And very shortly now, he'll make his way down towards turn, this next turn is 15, 130R. Down towards the final chicane. This, of course, being the Casio Triangle chicane. And a bit of a lock-up there on the front right-hand tyre. Jake Benham has retired as well. Remember, he's currently showing us Alessio Di Capua on our screens in P4. But as we now see, Lewis Welch up into P6. And that is absolutely brilliant. And that will get the Haas driver up into the higher echelons. Andreas Dormeyer still out on track, albeit I don't think he's going to get out here, Jack.
No, he's just come into the pit lane. He backed out of his lap. So that is it for Q1. Dormeyer is out. Akinci is out. Yamulo's out. And both Alfa Romeos of Joshua Kazane and Jorge Albarola are out in Q1. Tom 97 scraping in. But get this, 9 thousandths of a second. Just did enough. He's into Q2.
Yeah, absolutely brilliant. But just look at the delta difference there from the top end. All the drivers currently going through to Q2, all under 0.4 of a second, which is absolutely sensational. We will take you through the results of Q1 now, folks, but sensational there from the get-go. Obviously, it tends to start off a bit subtle, but starts to pick up as we go through qualifying. Danny Moreno, P1 here in Q1 for Mercedes. Ruben Vallejo, P2. Philip Preschnader, P3. Jake Benham, P4. Alvaro Caraton, P5. Lucas UK, P6. OMG's Joe in P7. That's Johanna. Nicholas Matteo, P8. Yari Fitz, P9. Dylan Warren, P10. Fabrizio Donoso, P11. Josh Idawu, P12. Domenico Lavecce, P13. Flores Fiers in P14. Tom Martinez, P15. And then, of course, we lost Andreas Dormeyer, Chanakinchi, Dario Iamulo, Joshua Kazani, and Jorge Albarola. They're all out of qualifying, folks. But, Jack, what a sensational start to this qualifying session.
It really is, yeah. But look at that. There's the whole field down to 15th is 0.3 of a second. That is closer than it actually was in Monza, believe it or not. So Japan has something about it, but 0.3 of a second is absolutely nothing. So 0.3 off. It's not bad being 0.3 off, but in this league, you're going to end up 15th and maybe out in Q1.
You certainly are. The quality here is incredible, folks. And this is what makes the racing so good. You do not want to blink because you will miss it, trust me. And it's going to be the trend certainly here at PSGL. We get it week in, week out. The battles are so close. I'm just seeing a comment here in the chat from Chazza0161. Wow, this is close. 4/10 between 1st and 18th. That is how close it is, folks. Literally nothing separates these guys, and that's exactly what we want to see here, of course, in this league, of course. And it's absolutely sensational, and the more of it we get, the better in my view, Jack.
Absolutely, yeah. And as we mentioned, of course, adding those extra 2 rounds is also exactly what we want, because we just get more of this action. So we're instead of finishing, we're finishing the season on the 27th of May. So we're going for an extra 2 weeks, like we mentioned, driver voted tracks, and I think we added in. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think we added in France and Mexico. Correct me if I'm wrong. So we'll be heading to two new destinations, which the drivers did vote for unanimously, and it was Mexico and I believe France that came out on top in that vote.
They did, exactly. You are quite right, Jack, and they will become part of the standings, of course, and we'll look forward to seeing how this pays off towards the end of the season. There was a lot of debate as to whether it would affect certainly the battle for certainly the Drivers' Championship, but because the battles are still so tight, nothing has been decided already on the calendar that we've got. It does allow that sort of added room for movement, and I have to say it's been absolutely brilliant so far. We've been so lucky, and certainly the racing has been absolutely sensational. So I got to say, credit to all those guys, credit to PSGL for making those necessary manoeuvres. It does mean we're going to have a longer title battle, which I think everyone wants a bit of that.
Absolutely, yeah, and it's going to be even more intriguing when we get, not if, but when we get Barry Burman and Jarno Watmere back on the grid and fighting it out on the track. We got a glimpse of it, just a small glimpse, a few races ago. And the battle in qualifying at Spa, I believe, was phenomenal stuff. And back in even the first round, the fight between those guys going to the flag. So it'd be great to get Barry, Jarno, mixing it up, of course, with Championship leader Philip Preschnader. And, of course, Denoso mixing it up there as well. So we've got some great prospects in the future rounds. But definitely the clash that everyone wants to see is Otmir versus Burman versus Moreno.
Oh, I think that's definitely on the cards for sure. And I got to say, don't count out this man, Alvaro Caraton, who I have to say always impresses me. Jack, remember we had the opportunity to speak to Alvaro previously, obviously in podcast form and various things like that. We took a deep dive into his racing career and, of course, his phenomenal rise up through esports, being a very, very big F1 fan, sim racing fan, and a true asset to Williams as well. And Williams Academy certainly have some outstanding drivers. And I have to say, certainly one man who's driving a Williams this season at PSGL is Nicolas Matteo. And we hark back to that race win last week at Monza. Are we going to finally see the best of this man?
Well, he certainly proved that he can race, and race well in that round at Monza. And I think he showed quite a lot of patience in that one, of course. Remember, Moreno led most of the race, but Matteo, of course, knew that he had a penalty, so wasn't trying anything stupid on him and trying to do dive bombs or anything like that. He sat behind, bided his time, and he did a great job to take that race win, was patient. But here we go, first time coming in, Moreno in front of Caraton, 10th of a second. Preschnader splits them on the 25.374 as well. Caraton 25.4, Varzen 25.5, Leveche 25.6, as well as Denoso 25.6. But the opening time, well, is taken away by Ruben Vallejo on the 25.262. Now remember, Danny Moreno did a 25.1 in Q1, but Vallejo, I tell you what, he's impressing me today.
He is, absolutely. He's been phenomenal. Certainly Q1, where he got himself out of the bottom echelons to land himself up the grid order, was absolutely brilliant. And I have to say, he's one to watch. Lewis Welch dropping into P8. But look at this man, Ruben Vallejo. Again, he was always challenging before in the point sectors, and he had an incredible drive at Monza as well. Remember him and Dylan Moore, and I hark back to your earlier comments, Jack, that Racing Point recovered greatly. Probably one of the best recoverers in this season, of course. They seem to get themselves from absolutely nowhere up to somewhere. Dylan Warren's known to be a bit of a fighter himself, likes to get into a scrap, will easily try and gain himself up the classifications, always tidy in a battle as well. And Ruben Vallejo is no different. On their day, they can be sensational.
They absolutely can. They just kept their nose clean and they just got their head down and got on with the job at hand, of course. And it was a case of a big, long DRS train. They managed to get themselves back up onto the back of it. We had the entire field in a DRS train by the end of the race. And we got them all across the line within a couple of seconds. So, yeah, the racing points recovered really well to a double points finish in the end. But right now, they've definitely got a better qualifying today. They've already got themselves both out of Q1 into Q2, and they certainly, at least, well, actually, both of them, I reckon, have a good chance of getting into Q2. As Vallejo had to take some avoiding action there on the way into the pit lane. He let Tom Martinez through, but he also had to cut across in front of the bollard in the pit entry. But I'm sure that'll be all fine. But he currently takes the provisional fastest time. It's a little bit quiet out on track at the moment as we wait for some time. I think we're going to get Johanan across the line now to finish his lap. He's been doing a great job today so far, getting into Q2, and see if he can get himself inside the top 10 here. He comes across the line. No, he can't. So he's invalidated that one on his way through sector number 2. But it's currently exactly the same as it was, really, at the end of the race in Monza. It's a Spanish 1-2 again.
It certainly is. Vallejo and Moreno. Prejnader in P3, just outside a tenth of a second from Danny Moreno. And Philip Prejnader, of course, our current leader in the championship. Here's Jari Fitz, and he's going to be the next man to cross the line, of course. He makes his way through the snake section here in Sector 1, and very shortly heading into Sector 2 as well, as he makes his way up towards the Degners. And as you can see them, they're certainly trying to stick to this track course. Very important here at Suzuka, because it can be very treacherous. You know, here at Suzuka, of course, one missed spot, one missed line, it can send you into obscurity. Jari Fitz here, round in the hairpin bend here at, of course, turns 10 and 11. About to round turn 12 now, and very soon will make his way up towards Spoon Curve and enter turn 13, of course. Renault looking to pounce upon this classification. Donoso currently in P9, he's on an outlap as well, and just behind Louis Welch, who's in P8. But Jari Fitz now coming down towards this next straight. He'll be making his way towards turn 15 at the 130R. And he's got an AlphaTauri in front of him there. He doesn't really want to be interrupted by that, and gets out the way indeed as Jari Fitz now down towards the Casio Triangle chicane. This, of course, being at the turns 16, 17 and 18. The final curve at turn 19. And as he does so, rounds it nicely, crosses the line, P5. 125. Indeed, just under 0.2 of a second faster, or 0.2 of a second slower than Ruben Vallejo. Just sits in behind Alvaro Caraton as well. So that's another player that's entered the fray here, Jack.
Yeah, good effort from Jari there, splitting himself between the Williams of Caraton and the Haas of Flores Vers, and just under a couple of thousands. There's Josh Idawu to the top of the stand. He's 25.137, and of course he's all fired up now from last week. He got knocked out in Q1 at Monza, and this time he's got the bit between his teeth, wants to get himself into Q3 and try to challenge for pole, because remember, he is in the championship running as well with Prejnader, and he lost a big chunk of points last week, so he's trying to recover back into the fray now, but definitely having a much better day now. He's a 10th over Ruben Vallejo at the moment in time, and Ruben Vallejo about to go for another effort at the moment, and that time that he gained all in the middle sector with a purple middle sector and actually a purple final sector as well, but losing nearly a couple of tenths. He actually lost a tenth in the first sector, but gained all that back in sector 1, sector 2, and sector 3. Yeah,
Dylan Warren up in a P4. The two racing points bringing it here at Japan, and that's one for the fans there. Certainly a lot of fans of Dylan Warren here at PSGL. He's certainly a cult hero amongst many. And the racing point now, it's P4. They're in Ps 2 and 4 right now, so it might be the case that they're not the comeback kings. They might be the speed kings heading around Japan. I mean, you have to give them every chance here today. Certainly going from grid positions they are in at the moment. Should they start in these positions after Q3? But of course, you can firmly imagine that things will be turned up a notch as we make our way into the final echelons of qualifying. And there's Josh Idawu and Danny Moreno take a bow up to P1.
Yeah, purple in the middle sectors. Their carrots on just a few hundredths off him right now, but Vallejo managing to get purple in the first sector that time by, but he's 0.2 off in the middle sector. So Moreno's had a mega middle sector right there, but this should be an improvement right now for this man as he comes across the start-finish line. Vallejo goes to third, just a 10th behind that man out front. Here's the Ferrari impersonator. He also does a 25.158 just in front of Flores Veras, who also improved. Denosa does a 25.1 as well for them on the same 10th of a second and just 2 thousandths separating himself and Josh Idawu. This is typical PSGL right now. Just drivers completely separated by just a few inches across the line.
Yeah, I have to say, this is stuff that we're seeing week in and week out, folks. And it's brilliant to watch indeed. And credit to Fabrizio Donoso up into P5 and literally just, well, under 1.5 tenths of a second behind Danny Moreno, who's in P1. The delta gaps are starting to really get firmer and closer together. And I have to say, it's great to see. We have got Jake Benham out on a lap as well as many others as well. We got, I think that's Moreno out on track. There's Nicholas Mateo, who's making his way down the stretch now. Here at 1:30, no time yet set here, but he has invalidated this hot lap as they now make their way down towards the Casio Triangle. Will look to go again if he wants to try and land a time heading into Q3. Now you can see him trying to cut the chicane there and dive into the pit lane. No doubt for another set of tyres, as we now see Joe Hannon out on an out lap as well. Louis Welch is going to be out on a lap very shortly, I can imagine, looking to go quicker. Domenico Lavecce into P10. He is on the cusp of the drop zone as things stand. Looking further up, we've also got Jake Benham, who's in P8 right now. Do not listen to the HUD, folks. He is not Alessio Di Capua. That is Jake Benham in the AlphaTauri in P8 for now. And I have to say, we'll have to see whether he stays there heading into the latter stages of this session.
Yeah, it's certainly been an impressive debut if you managed to do that. Jumping across from Xbox across the PC, mixing it up with the F1 Esports guys right now, and certainly putting on a good show. He's in Q3 right now as it stands, but there's just less than there's 400ths separating himself from being in P10 and on the cusp, of course. Jari Fitz less than the 10th off of Lavecce as well, so the smallest improvements can get you anything, but again, a top 10, 3/10ths of a second, so there's absolutely nothing in it at the moment. A small improvement of a 10th could be 4 positions in some guys' cases. In the example of Philip Preschner, he finds a 10th, he suddenly finds himself in a 3rd.
He does indeed, and I have to say, incredible stuff really. And I have to say, we're now watching Danny Moreno leave the track now, looking to go quicker again in Q2, which is an interesting call, and no doubt putting on the last set of softs here with just over 2.5 minutes remaining. Bear in mind, we've still got plenty of drivers still yet to set laps in behind as well. We got Joe Hannon, who's out on a flying lap. Like I said, 2 minutes left to go, so this is when the nerves start jangling. Obviously, when you're in the elimination zone, it's sort of on the cusp. You know, have to put in that perfect lap. Are these guys going to be really, really nervous heading into that stage of this, Jack?
Absolutely, especially if you're in the drop zone at the moment. And the man who's surprisingly in there at the moment is Mateo, a winner from last week. He's currently 14th at the moment and in danger of missing out on a Q3 appearance. So anyone from 10th down, really, and even Dylan Warren as well, if you're on the bubble as well, in 9th and 10th, you cannot be safe because if all the guys behind you improve, then you're going to find yourself further down and out in the elimination zone. So plenty of pressure, but I think guys like Moreno, Caraton, Vallejo, they don't really need to go again. But if they feel that they want to, they certainly can. But there's always a bit of pressure around because the smallest improvements here are worth a lot of positions. 5th place down to 10th is merely 2/10ths of a second, which can be easily found around here, especially if you've not had a good banker lap put in. So there's plenty to come, but there's guys down in the bottom 5 that really we'd normally see further up, but it's all or nothing now for Nicholas Mateo, for Tom Martinez, for Lewis Welch as well, who's in the drop zone at the moment, so they has to be all or nothing now. Yeah, Nicholas Mateo now exiting the Casio Triangle chicane, coming down the stretch, and let's right on board here with the young Spaniard here on his hot lap, of course, as he makes his way down towards the initial corners, turns 1 and 2, known as first turn, heading up towards turn 3 very, very shortly. This is the one that's coming up next, just creeping around the next left. Want to brush the curbs on the inset and outset, heading around the S curves as they call it, turn 5 and turn 6, and very shortly up towards turn 7, which is this one, the Dunlop curve, as they come up now towards the Degners, which is at turn 8. And you want to prime your car, put it in the right spot, brake, short shift there, usually sometimes, but he's left it on the throttle, comes round the next right-hander and heads his way around after turn 9, heading up to turn 10, which is a little kink heading up into the hairpin, and out at turn 11.
and really exits really nicely as well. You can gain lots of time as long as you can pull out effectively from that hairpin corner, heading around turn 12, and very shortly up towards turn 13, of course, this being Spoon Curve. And heads in, brushes the curb on the inset, takes a lot of the curb on the outset, inwards again at turn 14, and hits a lot of the curb now, running down the stretch, leading towards what will be turn 15. This is, of course, the 130R. And lots of overtakes you can expect can be done on this section of the track, certainly if you've got slipstream. But you've got to be careful because that is a hidden curb and can catch a lot of drivers off guard. Heading into Casio Triangle now. Takes a lot of curb on the inset. Moreno goes quicker into P1 as well. 124.791. Sensational as here comes Nicholas Mateo. P7 at the death. And he puts Dylan Warren into P11 as Yari Fitz hits P8, Jack.
Absolutely. So we're going to see if anybody else can improve. And we're waiting to see Jake Benham has backed out of his lap, so he will be out. Dylan Warren's on a hot lap as well, but Moreno's just pulled 3/10 out of nowhere. Josh Iwood to second. Preshnader into 4th place. It's getting close now in the mid-pack. As here we go with Dylan Warren. Now, can he get himself out of Q2, putting himself into Q3? He's on a personal best through this one. Leveche into 11th, can't make it in. Can Dylan Warren do it for the fans here in Suzuka? Can he get into Q3? No, he can't. P12 for him, and just misses out on Q2 by just a 10th of a second. And Tom Martinez, he is not on a lap, neither is Jake Benham. So we will say goodbye to Leveche, Warren, Benham, Hannon, and Martinez. But look at that. Once again, Danny Moreno just pulling time from nowhere, and he tops Q2, so that's a 100% record for him today. But again, Josh Idowu, Caraton, Preshnader, all within the same 10th of a second, and it's very, very close across the field. But impressive job from the two Haas drivers, getting both of them into Q3.
Yeah, I have to say, Floris Fears turning it up here at the Suzuka circuit. May have found a track that is more tuning with his style. Obviously, has had some very difficult misfortune in the past here in PSGL, and this is a good chance for him to turn it around here, of course. And I have to say, what a start to this amazing session here today at Japan. And there is Danny Moreno, top in the billing, a 124.791. That is absolutely brilliant. Josh Idowu as well, outside by just under 2.5 tenths of a second. That is a mammoth of a gap, isn't it, Jack?
It really is. I don't know where Moreno pulled that out. We'll have a look at the task timings right here just to see. 30.5 in the first sector, and yeah, it's both in the first two sectors. He found a 10th and a 10th again in the two middle sectors right there. Just lost a little bit in the last sector, but nearly getting a full clean sweep of purple sectors. 0.2 of a second, big margin for Danny Moreno. Idowu in, Caraton into Q3, as well as Philip Preshnader with Ruben Vallejo, Fabrizio Donoso, Nicholas Mateo, Yari Fitz, Lewis Welch, and Flores Fayers as well. The gap between himself and Leveche, and making it in to Q3, just 0.003 of a second.
Yeah, and only two teams with both drivers or both cars going into Q3, folks. And that is going to be the Renault team and Haas. So actually, no, three, because Williams have got two drivers as well. Nicholas Mateo and Caraton both in there as well. So Nicholas Mateo could yet again pull off some magic here and tackle his Spaniard compatriot. Of course, Danny Moreno and, of course, Alvaro Caraton as well. Plenty of notables heading in. It's almost like a who's who of racing here at PSGL. Absolutely brilliant. Any predictions heading into Q3, Jack?
Well, I think so far it's been pretty dominant from Danny Moreno, but the previous two rounds, Caraton has come from nowhere and snatched it at the very last moment, so I couldn't really call it as to who's going to get pulled today, but I think it is going to be between Moreno, Caraton, and Josh Idowu, but it's too close to call at the moment. Moreno looks like the man in form.
Well, he certainly could be. I mean, if he pulls off times like he has been, then I personally think they're in a very good place. I have to say, going into the final session of qualifying Q3 now, just around the corner, folks. The cars are starting to leave the garage as we speak. Of course, I want to hear your predictions as well, folks. Please drop them in the chat. Who do you think is going to be snapping up pole heading into the race? Is it going to be Danny Moreno? Do you think it's somebody else? Please hit us up here at PSGL. Me and Jack Cadan will want to hear your thoughts heading into the latter stages of this session. And we'll head back over to qualifying. There is our man Fabrizio Donoso, Jack. Out on track yet again. Very prompt and early. Looking to land an early blow.
Yeah, absolutely. He's been thereabouts, Fabrizio Donoso. So he's been top 5 mostly in these sessions. So let's see if he can maybe snatch a lap of the gods around here and get himself a pole position. We know he's got the pace to do that, and has been fighting up at the top end for the past few races. Just hasn't quite had that little bit just to get up to the first position, but very, very close on multiple occasions as well. But a man who's really hungry for a win, I'm sure, is Alvaro Caraton, because he's been one of the most consistent. His run so far has been 2 rounds ago third, last round second, so he's hungry now to finally secure himself a win right here. But he's gonna really have to work for it. But he's been so close on so many occasions. It just never quite enough. He was very close last week in Monza, just a couple of hundredths across the line. But of course, he took pole, but lost the lead straight away. And basically, that was the end, really, of his challenge for the win, and the pit stops as well, and not working in his favour. So he really needs something to go his way eventually.
He will indeed, and got to say, maybe today is the start, as we now see Donoso cross the line, getting ready to start his flying lap. Jari Fitz just leaving the pit lane as well as teammates, so he'll be out on an out lap and preparing for his fast lap, as we now see Donoso coming around the S's and looking calm and collected. An early lap, just to settle the nerves, I think, is in the offing, of course, but this circuit is just so demanding, and I've got to say, so unforgiving as well. Certainly that first sector, Jack, you've got to plant the car in exactly the right place, because you need a great access to all these curves, and he already, like I say, invalidates heading around the Degners. It's so tough, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is. Just taking too much curve on the Degner one, and that's an immediate invalidation. But he is gonna finish out the bank here just to get his eye in for the braking zones and all that. He knows exactly where the track limits are now at Degner number 1. Just trying to push it as much as he possibly can, because small margins can gain you a lot of time. Right here, he's going to take through Spoon and probably just immediately come into the pit lane at the end of this lap, or just go around and recharge and maybe go again. But of course, we have now everyone's going to be starting on the soft compound tire. No surprise there for this one, because the tire that you set your best time on in Q2, the top 10 will be the tire that you start the race on. Nobody opting for an alternate strategy. Everybody going on the soft tires. Big hop of the curve for Donoso there as he came over the Casio triangle. But he's going to go around, just finish out the lap. It's invalidated, of course, so it won't matter. But just to get, he will also see the time he set. It's a 25.2, and that is a good banker time from him. He'll be happy with that, as Flores will set the initial official time, 25.4, but Donoso was 2/10 faster than that.
Yeah, and I have to say, Flores Viers with a great start as well. He goes just over 2/10 quicker than Philip Prejnader, our championship leader. So if that is not room for thought, I tell you what, I don't know what is. Josh Idu out on an out lap as well. Alvaro Caraton out on track 2. Jari Fitz as well, doing the same as we now witness Caraton coming around this next right-hander. Of course, this is heading up towards Spoon. And I have to say, Williams are in with a great chance of some good, solid points here today. And that will help them big time heading through towards their championship cause. They're currently lying P2 in the Constructors. Only, Jack, and I say this, only 18 points behind Alfa Romeo. That is really, really good, isn't it?
Absolutely, and especially when both Alfa Romeos are down at the back row of the grid, this could be a big gain for Williams today. As we can see now, Alvaro Caraton is on a great lap at the moment. Purple in Sector 1, purple in Sector 2. This is going to be a great lap. Your fastest time so far. What's it going to be from Caraton? It's going to be a 24.931. It's provisional pole for now, but remember, we saw a 24.7 from Danny Moreno in Q2, but now, of course, the track evolving slightly, but Caraton, that's a banker of a 24.
Yeah, it is, and here comes Jari Fitz as well, just coming around the 130 arc before he now hits the Casio Triangle chicane. And here he comes indeed. The two Hasses, though, P2 and 3, Louis Welch and Flores Viers, though Louis Welch down just under 0.4 of a second. But Jari Fitz now coming across the line. He goes into P5, not able to scratch the surface there. Danny Moreno is out on a lap as well, just about to come round the next right-hander before he hits Spoon curve. Nicholas Mateo is out on track as well. He's just coming round Spoon now. So it'll be interesting to see whether both Williamses can apply the same trade here. Currently, he is green in Sector 1, Nicholas Mateo, of course, about to come down towards the 130R. And I have to say, it would be a huge boom to Williams, as you quite rightly said, Jack, towards their championship hopes, as you can now see Mateo into the Casio Triangle chicane now, heading out of the exit. And as he now makes his way towards the final bend, can Nicholas Mateo join his teammates at the top end? P2 in the 124s as well, by the skin of his teeth. I've got to say, what's that, 50 thousandths of a second, very minimal. And I have to say, plants himself into second place. Moreno not able to beat him there, just under a 10th behind Caraton.
Absolutely, yeah. That's just 0.004 of a second between Caraton and Matteo. But McLaren of Josh Idowu, purple sector 1 for him. He's on a big charge right now, trying to make up for lost time in Monza. Round spoon he comes. He's looking really good at the moment to try and maybe get himself split with the Williams even, if he can even do that round here. It's going to be a great lap from him. Sector 2 split. It's purple once again, 38.31, just a couple of hundredths faster. It's going to be very close. It will be a 24 if he hooks up the Casio triangle. Here comes the Welshman trying to recover after the disaster of Monza. Comes across the start-finish line. It's going to be a 24-7 provisional pole for Josh Idowu, and he now sets a marker down to Danny Moreno, because that's only 0.004 off what Moreno managed in Q2.
Well, that is an absolute bludgeon to the classifications. Idowu back with a vengeance here at Suzuka, and what a time to do it as well, with just under 5 minutes remaining in this session. I have to say, PSGL keeps on getting hotter and hotter and hotter, and this orange McLaren blazing here at Suzuka blazes into P1, and I have to say, Josh Idowu, absolutely sensational. And as I say that, a big thank you to Daniel Vatefield for the £2 donation. Connor McDonough, a brilliant man, he says, Jack.
Absolutely, and with, of course, he'll take all that money, run away with it. So we'll see what happens with that. But yeah, absolutely. Thank you very much, Vatefield, for that one. But yeah, Josh Idowu top of the billing at the moment. A very different scenario to what we'll see what happens with that one. But absolutely, yeah, Christmas party, absolutely well up for that next year, hopefully.
Yeah, let's put it behind the bar, shall we? As we now witness Philip Prejnader out on his outlap still. And once again, looking to light things up here at the top end, our championship leader. And in behind him as well, Floris Viers is also on his outlap as well. Ruben Vallejo also on an outlap. Remember, no time set by Donoso. He's leaving it all till the last minute. So do watch that, man. It could be fireworks there from the Chilean. And we know he's very experienced, knows what he's doing. As we're now seeing Prejnader just settling the Ferrari down, waiting to pounce upon this field now with a great competitive lap time. As we're now witnessing him coming around the Casio Triangle chicane. Exits now, heading down the home stretch. And the Slovakian driver here representing the red banner of the Ferrari team, heading down the paddock straight now, leading towards the first corner. And it's going to be so key to ignite this first sector here with such little time remaining. Squeaky bum time here, folks, here in Q3 at the PSGL PC Championship. Prejnader on a flyer. Can he do the business, Jack?
Well, he absolutely needs to get himself as close as he can to his championship rivals as he comes through sector number 1, looking at really tidy at the moment. Over the top of the hill, sector 1 split coming up in just a moment's time. It's going to be a 30.6, a 10th up on his best. Not quite purple, about a 10th off the best time of Josh Idowu at the moment, but it is competitive nonetheless. He's up on his time. But he heads into the hairpin right now. Gets it nice and tidy onto the power. Very tentative on the throttle. He's already backed out of it. Not happy. So he's going to go for another run. But obviously wasn't happy with his exit through the Degners or something going on there. But immediately backed out of it as soon as he felt that there was something off right there. But he's going to recharge, go for another lap. He doesn't need these tires. He's just going to go for it.
Absolutely, and there's Prejnader coming down the straight now. In behind, you can now see that Floris Viers will not be far behind either. We'll have to wait and see how this unfolds. Just looking further down there is the Haas driver just making his way down towards this long straight. And now or never for Floris Viers, obviously looking to recover some of the damage that has been caused certainly to his season. He's had a very difficult one ever since we started at Austria, as we're now seeing the Haas crawl through the Casio Triangle chicane now. And on the outset, heading into the final corner. And indeed, here comes the Haas car now, round in the straight, down the stretch, into P4 he goes, just over the 25s, and goes approximately 2/10 slower, just over from Josh Idowu into P4. But an improved showing from Floris Viers.
Absolutely, yeah, and he goes in front of Moreno for now, so good effort from Floris at the moment. So keeping an eye on these sector times. He went purple actually in the final sector, so by about 0.002 of a second, so he's got that at least. But Moreno is on a lap, and we'll see. We know he's got the pace for a 24.7. He did it in Q2. Let's see what the sector 1 split, 30.525. absolutely brilliant. It is purple in Sector 1 by a couple of hundredths of a second. Moreno up to the hairpin now. Can he do anything to displace that car of Josh Idaho, who's also going to go for another run as well in just a few moments' time? It is going to get really, really tight. The Williams are on an outlap as well. And as well, that purple sector is taken off them by Alvaro Caraton, who's flying in Sector number 1. So again, it's a battle between the Spaniards here in Japan. Down towards 130R comes Danny Moreno. He's looking really good to take that provisional pole off of Josh Idaho, but we'll wait and see as he comes towards 130R. Flings in 2/10 up on his best time. It's purple Sector 2 as well for him. It's brilliant from the Spaniard into the Casio Triangle. Flicks it right, flicks it back to the left, onto the power, down towards the DRS section. It is probably going to be our fastest time so far. Comes across the start finish at 24.663, a tenth of a second faster than Josh Idaho, but Caraton is going quicker in Sector 1 and also quicker in Sector number 2, but not quite. Let's close. It comes to the line. It may be very close between himself, but he's backed out at the last moment. So can Josh Idaho displace him? Idaho looking very, very good at the moment to try. He's taken purple Sector 1, green in Sector 2. Can he get it in there as they come across the start finish line? Here comes Josh Idaho across the start finish. He can't do it. It's very close, but he's unable to displace him. It's Danny Moreno on pole position with Alvaro Caraton in P2 and Donoso splitting the Williams.
What a rocket of a finish there. Danny Moreno, the machine, Danny Moreno is on pole for the Japanese Grand Prix here in the PSGL PC Championship. Alvaro Caraton in the Williams in P2. Welshman Josh Idaho P3. Fabrizio Donoso up in P4. Nicholas Matteo P5. Philip Presnader in P6. Floris Viers into P7. Ruben Vallejo P8. Yari Fitz in P9. And Louis Welch is in P10. But Jack, a firecracker of a qualifying session. We're going into the race with Danny Moreno, the machine, on pole. Jarno Watme, his teammate, of course, in the Mercedes. What it would mean to Danny Moreno to come back here and win this thing.
Well, he certainly wants redemption after Monza with the 2 penalties that he picked up. So he led from the start in that one. So he'll want to try and make sure he keeps it clean this time, because it's basically almost going to be a repeat because he's got Alvaro Caraton behind him. But remember what happened in Monza off the start. Moreno managed to get in front of Caraton. Let's see if Caraton can do the same this time towards turn 1, because he'd be hungry for a race win. So we'll wait and see if he can do that. But Donoso mixing it up there as well. But Josh Idaho, great to see him back on form in third, trying to bring a challenge to these guys. And he's also hungry for that win that keeps eluding him.
He is indeed. And we'll have to wait and see whether that's going to be very, very likely heading into the race session now. And I have to say, I don't know where it's going to go, but the lap times that were filtering through for Suzuka, there was big question marks across the grid order. Of course, they've been very impressive Williams in recent weeks. Obviously, it seems that Nicholas Matteo is driving with renewed confidence since that race win last week. He's almost like a different character out on track now as we head halfway through the season. And looking elsewhere as well, Alvaro Caraton, oh so quick. You can never write that man off. But again, you've got to look at the Mercedes garage. Moreno is pulling the strings right now. Philip Presnader on his day could be superb. We saw it at the Belgian Grand Prix. He was absolutely brilliant, led at the front, and even after being hampered at Belgium, he managed to turn it around after the issues going on in the garage, and he made it happen. The Slovakian got the result that he was looking for. And now as we head into the race here at Suzuka, certainly lots of question marks to be answered, but there's just no way we can predict anything here, Jack.
No, absolutely not. And we've got a fantastic, fantastic race lined up right now. Let's have a look at the strategies. Of course, top 10 all on softs. The rest are all on mediums, about as easy as you can get, splitting the strategy across the board. So nothing too strange around here strategy-wise. It's pretty clear-cut what's going to happen. So Moreno at the front, Caraton, Idaho, Donoso, and Matteo. And great to see at the as well, like you mentioned, best qualifying of the season for Floris Viers as well. P7 sharing a row with Philip Presnader, and let's see if he can get himself some points at last. Vallejo as well, 8th. Yari Fitz and Lewis Welch down in 10th as well. But we got to keep our eyes down as well, because Leveche, of course, he was the first man on the alternate strategy in Monza and ended up getting himself up to 4th place. So don't discount that Italian down in 11th place. Alternate strategy worked quite well at Monza last time, getting themselves mixing it up at the fronts. So we'll keep an eye on that, but it's going to be very similar to Monza. Plenty of DRS slipstreaming, but let's see if Moreno can convert it into a win this time and avoid those penalties.
Absolutely. Well, there's your man Danny Moreno. Started on first. He will start this race in first place, but it's so key to get around turn one, certainly at the front, because of course that is where you'll see a lot of the drivers cutting through down the inside, heading into the likes of turn one, up through the snake section in sector one. It's absolutely blitzing the start of the Japanese Grand Prix. Suzuka is so unforgiving, I have to say. And bear in mind, harking back to last year's game, if you remember, you had that bump in the track just after the chicane. Thank God they took that out, Jack, because that would have caused some problems. Certainly the rate of knots that these cars are going at.
Yeah, absolutely. It would cause a lot of problems on that inside line through qualifying. So thankfully it's not there, but they'll be vying now to try and get a clean start, and great Grand Prix lined up for you today.
It is, absolutely. As you can now see, Danny Moreno just getting his car up on the front row of the grid, joining him in behind Alvaro Caraton. It's been a pleasure, folks. All season we've seen the best action in PC racing here at PSGL. We want to continue this. Please leave your comments here in the comments box as well. And let's get ready for the start of the PSGL PC Japanese Grand Prix. First light, second light, third light, fourth light, the fifth light! And it's pedal to the metal, go, 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 go! And Danny Moreno gets away very steady there. In behind, you've got Alvaro Caraton. In behind, Josh Idawu as well. In behind, Fabrizio Donoso tries to pick up the pieces. Nicholas Matteo as well in the fray, with Philip Prejeda, who's slotting in behind there of the Spaniard. But it's still Moreno up at the top end, loving life in P1. A tremendous start, Jack. No, it's all pretty steady. And as I say that, Jari Fitz goes off track.
Yeah, big spin for Jari Fitz. He manages to just about keep out of the wall, but there's almost chaos happening up the hill right now. They're trying to sort themselves out. Yamula getting sideways over the top of the hill as they come down towards the Degners, and there's going to be maybe contact there between the Alfa Romeo and the Red Bull, just about getting away with it. But a great start from Moreno, a clean start from the top guys, a great start as well for Lewis Welch, up 2 positions from where he started and going side by side with his teammate through sector number 1. Moreno got away cleanly now, and now begins the slipstream train here at Suzuka. But of course, it's the championship we're keeping our eyes on as well. There's more rounds involved this time, but it's Idawu behind Caraton and Preshnader holding station in 6th behind Matteo. Let's see how this one ends.
Yeah, we're just having to reset the screens here, folks. Do apologise. We're having some issues here with the telemetry. I'll just quickly get that restarted for us. Obviously not ideal, as we now get to bid to start to get this race underway. As you can now see, Danny Moreno still leading the charge in behind as well. You've got the Williams of Alvaro Caraton. Still no moves just made yet. But as you can see now, our viewing screens are back with us. So do apologise for that, folks. We have got it back here in the plan, that's for sure. As we're now witnessing Danny Moreno now still in front. No gains yet made, but Louis Welch has moved up 2 places. Ruben Vallejo down in P9, and in behind as well, P10. You have the AlphaTauri of what looks to be, I have to say, that's Jake Benham there as well with his teammate Hannon in P11. But still, no change at the top end. Moreno still in P1. A gap of around half a second between him and Alvaro Caraton. Josh Idawu in P3. And do forgive the timing tower. We're just waiting to get itself sorted as we speak. But still Moreno leads. The Mercedes are on top. It's been a scintillating start. All very steady, bar a couple of incidents. But still the Spaniards lead the way. Moreno 1, Caraton 2nd.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it was a good start for the AlphaTauris indeed. So Jake Benham, he runs now just in P11. Joe Hannon behind him, but they're on the back of the train, of course, getting in front of Lovecce, who started in P11. So they're both the AlphaTauris now running together in this early phase of the Grand Prix. But Caraton now, he knows what he needs to do. He needs to stick with Moreno and try to keep himself in DRS range. Moreno has been unable this time to break DRS. Of course, it's enabled on this next lap by, and he will now have to try and defend from Caraton and from Idawu, and of course from Donoso, who runs 4th as well. So Donoso running really well at the moment in this early phase. DRS is now enabled on this lap, so when they come through next time, they will have that rear wing flap, reducing the drag, and will give us some opportunities for some overtaking in this phase. But don't expect too much of it now. The drivers are settling into their rhythm, and it is now firmly going to be the DRS train like we saw at Monza.
Yeah, it firmly is, and I have to say Moreno still leading the charge, of course. Fastest lap already secured for the Spaniard. He's leading the charge, and there's a big string of cars now whittling their way all the way from Ps1 down to Ps20, of course. Tunetank obviously having some issues at the start, so was Yari Fitz. But as things stand, it's still Moreno on top. We've got a big tussle in the midst there between Ps 8, 9 and also 7 there. In fact, Flores Villa is joined by his teammate Louis Welch, who is extremely relentless as a pad player. But just look at the delta gaps, minimal, separating all of these cars. Now, in behind as well, Philip Presneder trying to gun down on Nicolas Mateo, but Mateo proving to be a very formidable candidate. There's the two Haas cars in the top 10. They'll certainly enjoy these positions. They haven't had a whole lot of luck this season, but Louis Welch, of course, a great asset that has been brought to Haas, of course. Louis Welch has been driver transferred 3 times this season. I think it's 3 times, Jack, anyway, and looking to do the business for Haas.
Yeah, it's his 3rd switch, of course. He was at Mercedes at the start and then moved to Alpha and then across to Haas after all the driver changes. But here comes the DRS now. Moreno tried to break it but couldn't do it. There's Lewis Welch. He makes it past his teammates up to 7th place. And Vallejo now trying to make it work as well. But no way through for him. But Lewis Welch up to 7th now and making sure he stays in the DRS of Philip Presneder in front. Moreno tried his best, but Caraton is with him in the DRS range, and they both have similar ERS charge. Caraton has more, actually, than Moreno, and Moreno is notoriously good at looking after that ERS, but of course, when you're the car behind, it's far easier to save the battery charge up and to use it when you want to stay in that DRS range. But Caraton sticking with them for now. Moreno very strong in this middle sector, but Caraton will pull it back when they get that DRS. Once again, there's very little DRS around here, actually, a little more, less than most circuits, but there's not. They've only really overtaken the opportunity with DRS is turn number 1 at the moment, so they'll settle in for now. But Caraton just biding his time, looking after the tires, looking after the ERS, and making sure he doesn't go into the back of that car in front.
Yeah, and here we're running on board with Ruben Vallejo down in P9. And he's trying to chase on the back of Flores Villas, who's currently in P8, just overtaken by his teammate earlier on in the race. Of course, earlier on in the lap, in fact, as they're now making their way down towards the 130R in ahead. There's quite a gap between Welch and Presneder, and you have to wonder whether Louis Welch now is trying to focus on trying to gain the delta gap that was lost. It was nearly approximately a second there, Jack, so it certainly seems to be a tale of 2 groups at this moment in time, albeit I think that delta time is going to come crashing down because Louis Welch, now in the clean air, can pull his teammate along. Flores Villas needs to stay behind his teammates if he wants to gain any time on the cars in front.
Yeah, absolutely. It was much larger, that gap between Lewis and Philip at the start of the lap, but Lewis has managed to bring it down to under a second. It was about 9.5 tenths at the start of the lap, but he's managed to bring it down to 7, so he's now firmly in the DRS range and doing a nice job sitting behind the Ferrari of Presneder, so mixing it up with the fast guys at the front at the moment. And we have, of course, Jake Benham running in 10th now in the points on the medium tyres. So he's sticking in there very nicely on the alternate strategy. Remember how this worked in Monza as well? It was the same kind of thing what we're seeing right now. Big long train. And when they pitted again, they came out on the alternate tyre and sighed their way through the field. So the 2 Alpha Taris of Jake Benham and Joe Hannon, definitely the ones punching above their weight at the moment.
Yeah, they are. And also look at Ruben Vallejo. He is ever dynamic there. Stuck in behind Flores Villas, looking to find a way through. And certainly he's getting closer and closer. He's probably the closest delta gap that we've seen, bar Philip Presneder and Nicolas Mateo. But Ruben Vallejo currently within the 4 tenths of a second gap. Indeed, that's just sprung out to 5 tenths, given the fact that we're at the 130R now, of course. Now, do expect this DRS train to continue. Obviously, it's when the strategies come into place. That's when we see fireworks start getting lit up, as we now see Philip Presneder once again all over, hovering on the rear end of Nicolas Mateo. I think is finding life a little bit uncomfortable as things stand with that Ferrari prancing all over the rear end. Of course, Philip Presneder's teammate Tom Martinez down in P15 at this moment in time as they wind their way around turn 1. Obviously, don't pay too much attention to the timing tower in terms of now, folks. Tunetank is not your race leader. He is at the back. Obviously, we're just having a couple of issues, I think, in terms of the link in with the game, I think, right now. So, obviously, we'll have to see where that leads us. Of course, there's the real results there. Moreno is on top. Caraton in P2. We've got Josh Idawu in P3. Donoso P4. Mateo in P5 with Presneder, who's trying to lock in behind the Spaniard now. Louis Welch in P7 with Flores Villas in P8. His teammate Ruben Vallejo still maintaining that delta gap right now and looking ever prominent. And you only get to think that maybe it only takes one little slip up and we're going to expect a move very, very shortly.
Yeah, and it could get very interesting, of course, as Lewis Welch is just about to fall out of DRS, and there it is, outside the second margin right now. That's going to leave him very vulnerable to his teammates and everyone behind, struggling through Spoon Curve, just understeering straight on through the middle part of Spoon right now, and he's now trying to get himself back in the DRS range. It's now going up and down, now goes back under the second margin. So this is going to be close whether he actually gets DRS here. The detection point is just before the Casio triangle, and was just in by 5 thousandths. He should have DRS on the exit, and he does indeed. He got it by 0.005. He lives to fight another day.
He certainly does, and we're just witnessing now the cars whittle their way down the paddock straight here. And there we're seeing, once again, Ruben Vallejo making his way down the track, heading into turn 1. And the Pink Panther, the Racing Points, closing in behind steadily on Flores Viers, just maintaining that same gap, waiting for an opportunity to present itself. Certainly, the young Spaniard, very, very relentless. And we're very lucky to have a multitude of quality drivers here at PSGL, and it never stops or ceases to amaze us here, like the fans alike who are watching here in the live chat. As we're seeing Danny Moreno there in front, still maintaining a gap of approximately 0.5 of a second. Josh Idowu still in the mix as well, just hunting all over the rear end of Alvaro Carreton. And literally nothing separates this top lot. Obviously, Philip Prejnader, as you've quite rightly said, Jack, the second gap starting to come into the fray now. And that Ferrari is basically the latter of a 6-car string that we're seeing here, leading their way up towards Spoon Curve. And still Moreno in front. Carreton P2, Idowu P3, Donoso P4, Matteo P5, Prejnader in P6. Williams are on for a great day today.
Yeah, absolutely. And Carreton is just getting that little bit closer each time to the back of that Merc out front. Brings it down to 0.4 of a second through there. And each time, let's see if Lewis Welch manages to get himself DRS once again. He was at 1.3 at the hairpin, and this time he gets DRS by 0.4 thousandths of a second. He likes to run it close. Actually, no, he doesn't have it this time. Not quite within that margin. And in comes Ruben Vallejo. He's taking an early pit stop right here for the Spaniard. And he dives out, and he will now trigger the pit stops phase of this one. And look up front, George. Carreton beginning to challenge.
He is indeed. I think he knows that the in-laps, or at least these are going to be the in-laps for some of the drivers. Maybe Carreton will be looking to box. Maybe just try and open the door. Maybe just close up, or at least just try and make some gains here in lap 8 of 27. Obviously, like you quite rightly say, Jack, Ruben Vallejo pitting at this stage will trigger certainly a series of pit stops. Vallejo, bear in mind, was stuck in behind that of Flores Viers, and he was getting so close. He had his opportunity presented to him, certainly with the delta gaps closing in. So this early pit stop could be crucial to Vallejo's race. Can this gain him a couple of positions? We will have to wait and see. He does come out ahead of Chanakinchi. He's in behind Yari Fitz there in P19, keeping on that Spaniard in the Racing Point. But the battle still remains up top. Danny Moreno on top here, P1, with Alvaro Carreton in P2 still. Idowu now as they round Spoon Curve in the McLaren in P3. Donoso there too in P4. Matteo P5. Prejnader riding off those top 6. That contingent of cars. You get the feeling, Jack, that the stops are going to happen now. Let's see how the strategy pays out.
Yeah, certainly are. You can see Carreton again very close to the back of Moreno. Idowu had a moment through Spoon, lost a big chunk of time, but Carreton through the Casio triangle, getting up behind Moreno this time. Who's going to box? None of them are going to box. And down the front straight now, is Carreton going to go for it on this lap? DRS open. Will he try it into turn 1? He's getting closer and closer to the back of that Mercedes. Into turn 1, looks to the outside, but Moreno blocks the middle of the road. No way through for the Spaniard in this late phase. Lewis Welch pits. Prejnader dives into the pit lane as well, but this is getting feisty right now as the mediums start to come to life as well. Jake Benham has managed to get in front of Flores Viers as well, so he's now put a spanner in the works for them because he's the leading medium runner, and he will probably now, after these guys pit, he will lead this Grand Prix and try to go long on these medium set of tyres, but this is getting feisty out front now.
It certainly is, and you get the feeling that was the straw that broke the camel's back. It only takes one move to change everything, folks. Just one little domino to fall to bring the others crashing down. Moreno still on top here in P1. Carreton in P2, and it's closing all the time. You've got to be impressed by Carreton's pace here at Suzuka. In mind as well, Josh Idowu just happily just checking things out, just watching it all unfold in P3. All it takes is one mistake, one collision, and again, both Moreno and Carreton could be on the end of a wrong circumstance here as they round Spoon Curve yet again here in lap 9 of 27. Remember, Vallejo, the only car that's boxed at least for this time, as they make their way down towards the 130R. It's Mercedes on top, and Mercedes engine Williams. Mercedes owning the top 2 places in 100%. Certainly when you consider engine constructors, we'll have to wait and see how this unfolds. Will it be the Williams on top, or will it be the Mercedes itself up at the top end?
Oh, big oversteer for Caraton through the last corner, lost a big chunk. Idaho comes in, Donoso comes in, and Matteo also boxes, but the two leaders out front continue on. I think if Caraton had not got that oversteer moment, I think he may have been able to overtake Moreno, but got that big handful of oversteer through the last corner, and now falls back after that. And we can see very close in the pit lane between Idaho and Donoso. But Idaho manages to get in front. Where is Preschnader? He's going to come out in front of Donoso. Can he get in front of Idaho? Not quite. But that's a position gained for Donoso. Vallejo couldn't quite do it, but good effort from Preschnader. That puts him into a net P4 at the moment. 2 positions up from where he was before the pit stops. So the undercut working for him, but wasn't able to quite get it done in Idaho.
No, indeed. I have to say, it'd be interesting to see whether Vallejo's tactic will pay off for him here. He will be on reasonably fresh tyres. They'll be nice and warm, nice and sticky after getting them at least an extra lap in. As we can now see, the Donoso is basically in front of him here, and also in behind, in front of Donoso is Preschnader as well, like you quite rightly say. So Preschnader in with a great chance here, and has leapfrogged through the pit phase. We'll have to wait and see whether this will spring out an advantage for him. It certainly has at this stage. He's just in behind Josh Idaho, who is still technically only in that net P3 position, but we'll have to wait and see as well. How crucial will it be, certainly in terms of the leaders, as we now witness Moreno and Caraton boxing now, Jack, here in lap 10 of 27.
Absolutely. So in comes Moreno, in comes Caraton, but I'm not sure what that's going to mean when they come out of the pit lane. They'll have fresher tyres, but we'll have to see what the overspeed is like for the guys behind. Out comes Moreno. He's coming down the pit lane now. We have to watch for Idaho and for the others as well. Here comes Josh Idaho through the last corner. Where is Moreno and Caraton on their way out of the pit lane? Fastest lap for Preschnader. Here comes Idaho. He's close. He's going to get Caraton on the run down towards turn 1. Will he get Moreno? He goes for it, but he can't quite do it. He's very close, but Josh Idaho slots himself between the Williams of Caraton and behind Moreno. It was very, very close. A tenth of a second more, and he may have been leading this Grand Prix. Moreno hangs on, but Caraton crucially loses it in the pit stops. And now Preschnader into P4, and very close as well. Donoso mixing it up as well in P5, but the big gainer, Ruben Vallejo, in that one.
Yeah, absolutely. Certainly was. Ruben Vallejo right up in the fight now. After that very early stop, it's garnered him a number of positions, and he's parked his car ahead of Nicolas Matteo. And indeed, just the big winner as well, Josh Idaho, getting himself into a net P2 position, as we're now seeing a fight, a tussle happening now between that of Vallejo and Matteo. And Matteo has come off better than that of Ruben Vallejo, the Spaniard on the Spaniard. These two have been teammates before, but this time, no friends here at PSGL. Matteo has managed to sink himself up into P15, overtakes Ruben Vallejo. Just how key could that be, Jack?
That could be a big move. Of course, remember, they're battling for the constructors' points as well to try and leapfrog Alfa Romeo, so it could definitely be a move to remember. But now, big moment for Philip Preschnader, because he's got his 2 rivals in the championship right in front of him, Caraton and Idaho. He's battling with them for that championship as they come over the start-finish line. Moreno trying to get away from Idaho, but he can't quite do it because Idaho has got that DRS. Preschnader getting very, very close to the back of Caraton, but no move on for him just yet. But after those pit stops, it's an AlphaTauri 1-2 at the front. Jake Benham leads for the first time in PSGL, with Joe Hannon in his highest position at the moment in P2. So they're going to extend and go long on the medium tyres, but we'll have to see what that strategy is going to mean for them. They're just going to try and stay out for as long as they can and try get themselves on the soft tyre and go for it in the final few laps.
Yeah, they certainly will. There's Philip Preschnader as well, just rounding the Degnas. He's got a very, very probing Fabrizio Donoso, the Chilean, getting so quick in behind as well. The Renault engine certainly serving him well here as they come round the hairpin bend. And still Philip Preschnader stuck in behind at the moment of Alvaro Caraton. Josh Idaho living and loving life in P11. Danny Moreno is leading this contingent still. That has not changed since the start of this race. Obviously net P1. Still leading though Jake Benham, like you quite rightly say, in his first severe race here in PSGL. It'll be interesting to see where he finishes, obviously. And obviously, as you can correctly read from the timing screens, it does say Di Capua, but that is Jake Benham there in that AlphaTauri. as we're now seeing Philip Presnado rounding the 130R, making his way down the Casio triangle. There you can see further up, I believe, a battle between a Williams and the McLaren, the two British constructors there. Josh Idawu under the mercy here of Alvaro Carreton, looking for redemption after the switcheroo in the pit stop phase, as we're now witnessing still, once again, Idawu in behind Moreno, looking to close the door here on his Spaniard compatriot here. But indeed, you can now see Idawu, the Welshman, in behind him now, looking to close the gap. McLaren obviously donning Mercedes engines for the new season of Formula 1, but obviously at this moment in time, they're still donning the same engine they have at least last season, as we're now witnessing them come around the next swooping sector, heading around the next left-hander around Dunlop Curve. Time penalty applied to Chanakinchi, who is at the back of the field right now, but as they sort themselves out now, rounding the Degners, still Moreno on top, but you get the feeling that this is the calm before the storm, Jack.
Absolutely is. Right now you can see Moreno very strong in those opening sectors. Opens the gap out to 0.8 of a second. So he's really trying to break DRS right now, trying to get away, and he's almost done it. But Idawu is just doing enough to stay in there for now. But it seems like Moreno's got the measure of everybody at the moment. He's got enough to stay in front. But we have to wait and see, because he's also saving ERS. He's got nearly 90% charge in that battery versus 50% for Josh Idawu. Carreton nearly 80% on the ERS as well, so very light on the battery. Philip Presnado is giving it everything behind Carreton. He's got nothing left in the battery, and Donoso's getting closer and closer as well to the back of that Ferrari. So it's an interesting dynamic here, differing levels of push right now, but Philip Presnado is having to work very hard to stay with these guys.
He is indeed. There you can see Donoso, and he's probing, and you can now see him coming down towards the line. He's got the slipstream. Presnado goes into defend as they come down towards turn 1. Here comes Donoso down the outside there, heading into or around turn 1 into turn 2. The Chilean not able to get it done. Presnado defends his line, still wheel to wheel, heading through the winding sections. Brilliant there from Donoso. The Chilean strikes, nails himself up a spot ahead of Philip Presnado, the championship leader. If that's not a scalp, I don't know what is, Jack.
That is a brilliant overtake right there. He managed to hang it on the outside, but didn't quite get the run out, but got on the overtake button, slid up alongside, banged wheels with Presnado, but it was all fair. Hard but fair racing, and through goes Donoso. Next up for him is Nicolas Matteo trying to get back, but this is big points he's losing to his championship rivals. Of course, big gains for Idawu, big gains for Carreton at the end of this race, so the championship is blown completely open the more points he continues to lose, as we have a penalty for Yari Fitz as well. But the two Alpha Tauris at the front of the field, they're getting very close to one another, pushing each other up towards the Casio triangle. I sense a pit stop coming up very shortly for these guys as they round the last corner, but they're going to carry on, and we're going to see now maybe a swap between those guys at the head of the field. Joe Hannon fancies a goal down towards turn 1, but can he get alongside his teammate here down towards turn 1? Gets close, can't quite do it. But we have now Leveche in, Dormeyer and Kazani are also in, so that'll promote these guys behind up a few positions. But look at Carreton on the back of Idawu. Here he comes, inside line for turn 1 for the Spaniard, looks for it on the inside, sweeps it up the inside, and Carreton retakes the second spot. And we know he's got the pace to try and chase down Moreno. Had to do it to avoid losing much time, and right now he can re-challenge his compatriot out front.
Yeah, and he also managed to secure the fastest lap of the race so far as well. Jack Carreton is on fire and trying to get closer as possible to Danny Moreno, and the two Spaniards like to raise those drivers at one spot each, folks, as we're now seeing them about to round the certainly the swooping left-hander at Spoon Curve. And still at this moment in time, Moreno, the net leader, P7 is currently his spot right now. In behind as well, Alvaro Carreton there, in behind him, as well as Josh Idawu, Fabrizio Donoso. The DRS trade is absolutely stunning, folks. And once again, opening up doors for potential manoeuvres here, as now we finally see Jakey Benham. He's in the pits, Jack.
He's also got a 5-second penalty for speeding on the way in, so he's lost a big result there, as in comes Dylan Warren and all these guys on another fastest lap for that man, Alvaro Carreton. Round they go, so you can see the only car left out is Joe Hannon, out in the lead of this race by 11 seconds, but he's got to pit at the end of this one. But as they come out, it will be very, very tight, but Leveche gets in front of Benham, and side by side with Dormeyer, he just about manages to get out in front, but Leveche gets the jump on that man of Jake Benham in the pit lane and manages to come out just in front, and it's fine margins once again in Formula 1, but it's Lecce in P11 now. He's got to get his head down on those soft tyres, chase down the guys in front.
Yeah, points in the offing here potentially for AlphaTauri if they can whittle their way through this field. And there's that man, Jakey Beard, McLaren off the track. Is that Chanakinchi, Jack?
I'm not actually sure because I can't see, so I have no idea what it was in that one, but we carry on nonetheless. But Jake Benham losing out in the pit stops to the Italian Domenico Lecce. Fine margins, as I mentioned, but Lecce now having to try and defend, but they've got to work together really. They've got to try and close up to Flores, who is 2.7 seconds up the road. They have to try and make these soft tyres work as Joe Hannon pits from the lead and will now promote Danny Moreno back to the lead, and we get the fight to resume out front.
We do indeed. Moreno will now take the official lead of the race. In behind now, his teammate Jake Benham all over the back of Domenico Lecce. This fight is not over for the mid parts of the classification as they now make their way around now. It'll be a chance here now for that man indeed, Jake Benham, who goes alongside Domenico Lecce. A lovely move indeed on the inside. Comprehensive, brilliant stuff there from the man in the midfield. Makes his way up into P10 and drops Domenico Lecce down into P11. Amazing stuff indeed, but you're quite right, Jack. Danny Moreno still in front now, takes absolute P1. In behind as well, Alvaro Caraton into P2. Josh Idawu into P3. Fabrizio Donoso is in P4. Philip Presnay at P5. Nicholas Mateo in P6 with Ruben Vallejo there in P7. But as things stand, Moreno leading, and I'll certainly provide him with a bucket load of championship points if it stays like this.
Absolutely, and I can see as well that Caraton's struggling on the ERS a little bit compared to Moreno. Moreno with 76% charge at the moment, and Caraton on about 40. So he's having to work a bit hard to keep up with Danny Moreno at the moment. Josh Idawu as well on a similar level of ERS, and Donoso even worse behind, as well as Presnay on a similar level. So they're having to use a lot more ERS, 35% for Caraton, closer to 80 for Danny Moreno. So Moreno's got the charge in the battery to use if he needs it to defend. So we'll see what happens in that one. Moreno is managing this beautifully at the moment to keep himself in front of Caraton. He's avoiding all the warnings, all the penalties, but I've got a feeling Caraton is just biding his time behind, saving up and trying to recharge that battery as we go through the next sector, as Jake Benham gets himself fastest lap of the race, which will give him a championship point because he's currently running in P10, which is taken off him by Yamulo. Runs in 17th. Remember, Jake Benham, he's got the 5-second penalty also to add on, so that's going to drop him quite a ways down.
It will indeed. Yamulo now with the fastest lap, and just whittling, we're looking at the front end. The delta gap's beginning to steady themselves out now. Approximately 7 or 8 tenths of a second. You get the feeling that Moreno is trying to check this race out here from the get-go. We've still got approximately 9 laps remaining here, folks, in this Japanese Grand Prix. And I have to say, still plenty of action left, though, I am sure. There's still going to be a huge tussle for the podium spots, because in behind Idawu will no doubt want to try and get that P2 spot at least. He's got redemption on his mind after what happened in Italy. It did not go to plan for the Welshman last week, and you can just see that he's looking for vengeance. Donoso there in P4 as well. Don't forget him, the Chilean. He's experienced and he knows what he's doing. Do not count out the Renault as they come down the stretch now, leading towards the 130R, down towards the Casio Triangle chicane. Danny Moreno leading this contingent of cars down here, but he's nearly clear and he's very close to breaking DRS here, Jack.
Absolutely is, yeah. You can see Caraton's having to use his ERS to stay in. That's not what he really wants to be doing in this phase of the race, but he's staying in there for now. As they come across the start-finish line, actually brings it down to about 0.6 of a second. So the DRS is saving him right now as they come through turn 1. Idawu is sticking in there too, as is Donoso. So it's settled down for the current moment, but it is going to get very interesting as Dormar and Lecce going side by side through turn 1. Lecce manages to fend him off through that sector, and Lecce lives to fight another day. But just, of course, the championship standings wise, Preston are running P5. He's on 57 points, with Barry Burman, of course, behind him on 51, and Alvaro Caraton third in the championship on 44. Josh Idawu would get this a point behind him on 43. So there's a big fight between those two, and that's why it's such a crucial battle that Caraton and Idawu are together on the circuit. But there's very little margins in the championship, just 13 points at the front of it, and crucially, Caraton second, Preston fifth. It's more points to be gained for Idawu, not for Idawu, sorry, for Caraton in this one.
It is, absolutely. And Caraton, after a sterling performance at Italy, missed out on a race win, but he was in the mix and certainly challenging. And you have to imagine that Williams, I have to say, we're probably delighted with their absolutely outstanding teamwork performance indeed. And I have to say, Nicholas Mateo was delighted to pick up his victory, that's for sure. He's currently showing in P6 and certainly not out of the fray just yet. And there you can see the smoke rising out of the Casio Triangle chicane as the cars whittle their way through here. And the grid order is pretty much as it has been, of course. The DRS trains really still lighting up here in lap 20 of 27. 7 laps left here, folks. And it's still just the tip of the iceberg for now. Moreno still on top. Caraton in P3. Still working on that delta gap, trying to bring it crashing down. In behind, though, you can see there Flores Spheres in tandem with Louis Welch there. The two Haas cars still in the top 10, Jack. You've got to give them credit. Potential performance of the season here.
Absolutely, yeah, it'll be their best finish of the season so far, getting both cars inside the points. But they've got to watch out because Jake Benham, of course, he's on fresh, soft tyres just behind, and he's really bringing the gap down to them. And he's actually, at the same time, broken DRS on Leveche behind him, so he's working hard to get away from the guys behind, and he's trying to catch up to both the Haas cars in front because he has got that 5-second penalty, which will be added on at the end of the race, so he needs to get as far in front as he can at the cars behind because he will drop out of the points as it stands. But not long to go in this race right now, and it just seems like Moreno's got full control at this point, got loads of ERS, has got clean air, and Caraton definitely doesn't, he's there, but I don't think he's quite got enough in the hands to try and get in front of the Spaniard in front, but all it takes is a penalty and that turns it on its head.
It does indeed. A Mercedes over the last 4 outings, the only points position they missed out on is Italy, and they didn't pick up any points in that race. But prior to that, they had obviously 12 points at Spa, 16 points at the Netherlands, and not forgetting the British Grand Prix, 16 points as well, as we're now seeing the gap beginning to close now between Flores Spheres and, of course, Louis Welch as well. Nothing between the two of them, at least for the time being. 0.4 of a second separating those two now, and it just seems to me that maybe Flores Spheres is starting to find a little bit more time there on Louis Welch.
Seems to me, yeah, indeed. I was just checking the race director for the warnings, and each Moreno and Caraton both are just on a single warning, so they have got more in the bag if they need to track extends, or and when they're pushing, of course, that does. Moreno now he's in full control, only one warning, as has Caraton. So Caraton not having to push overly hard to try and catch up to him, of course. But he does, if he needs to, perhaps go a little bit wide of the corner, and he can do so. But a little bit closer this lap than he was the previous time, a little bit more ERS as well. So just controlling it at the moment, I reckon, for Caraton as well as Moreno. But Moreno, of course, he's got more ERS. He can defend when he needs to. And Caraton is just sitting behind, biding his time, because there's still plenty of time left in this race for anything to happen. But Caraton is just keeping him honest and keeping him looking in the mirrors.
Yeah, he is right now. Andreas Dormeyer has just picked up a 3-second time penalty as well. The other Mercedes not having the best of luck here at this moment in time, but that could change. It's getting very close in Ps 11, 12 and 13 because Leveche now is in trouble because he's outside the DRS gap, and here comes none other than Joe Hannon down the inside here now. The AlphaTauri on the parent car, the Red Bull, and that is certainly one to boon, that's for sure. 12 now for Joe Hannon, a scintillating move going into turn 1, the hot spot from all the overtakes that we've seen in this race, and Joe Hannon gets it done, no exception. The AlphaTauri ahead of its Red Bull compatriot. AlphaTauri, Jack, 11th and 12th, Red Bull 13th and 16th. I hope Christian Horner isn't watching.
Absolutely. Well, for me, they're 10th and 11th right now. So Benham runs in 10th. And because of the penalty for Jake, of course, that puts Joe Hannon in the points at the moment. So he's keeping now. He's actually got fresher tyres than Jake as well. But also, Jake has caught up to both the Haas cars who were battling it on the previous lap between Lewis Welch and Flores. They were battling it out on the previous lap, and they've lost a big chunk of time to the two AlphaTauris behind. So they're in trouble now, and they could certainly promote Joe Hannon up maybe a position or two. Flores has got a 3-second penalty, so right now Joe Hannon currently, after both penalties are applied, runs in 9th after all those penalties are applied. But across the line to begin, lap 23 still stagnant out front at the moment. No moves made between our leaders just yet. Ida is sitting there, but the closest man behind anybody at the moment is Donoso, but he also has not a lot of ERS to use. at this moment in time. And Ruben Vallejo starting to struggle now, falls out of DRS, and Nicholas Mateo, and has got no ERS left in the tank either.
No, he hasn't, and the battle's beginning to hot up in the midfield, like you quite rightly say, Jack. We are having issues. I think Chanakinchi is somehow finding his way to the top of our timing tower, hence why you were spot on with your results there, Jack. I think they pushed mine down by 1, and Domenico Leveche, a crucial time penalty as well. That's 3 seconds added to his time. He's down into P14, and that's certainly not the way he wants it to be. Dylan Warren now beginning to really zoom up on him now. We haven't seen much from Dylan Warren, and actually attempts an overtake outside of Dunlop as they make their way down through the Degners. The Pink Panther is creeping up on the Red Bull. The Mercedes engine Racing Point looking dangerous down the inside and goes ahead of the Red Bull of Domenico Leveche. That looked all too easy, Jack, as they head round the hairpin, and Dylan Warren now up into P13.
Leveche slow. I think he's got a problem because he's just backed off completely, and he's crawling around now. So obviously maybe a hardware problem, just let him through, but Leveche now down in 18th place, so backed out of it, let the guys through, but had some kind of problem midway through that corner again. So unfortunate for Leveche this week. Had such a good result last week, but not able to continue that form heading into this next race. But look at this now. The Alpha Tauris are ganging up on the Haas cars through the Casio Triangle. Jake Benham is all over the back of Lewis Welch as they come down the front straight once again. But out front, Caraton's getting close as well. So this is going to get really intriguing in these last few laps. But Jake Benham not able to get alongside. But Caraton is beginning to attack now.
He is indeed. We're just having a look now. Looking further up there, you can see Donoso trying to close on what looks to be Idawu. We've actually lost Domenico Leveche now. He's retired out of the race now, folks. That's the Red Bull out after that problem that he was having that we quite rightly saw earlier on. And you are quite right as well, Jack. Caraton is starting to bust a move now. He knows that he's only got 3 laps remaining in order to try and take the P1 spot here off that man, Danny Moreno. It's a battle of the Spaniards with Josh Idawu in behind. Still all to play for, folks. 3 laps remaining. 3 laps of magic.
Absolutely, and crucially, Donoso starting to struggle, was briefly out of DRS, but now that'll give Philip Preschneider all the invitation he needs to get himself a little bit closer through Spoon Curve. They will come 3 laps to go across the line this time, and no idea of still who's going to take this one. Moreno has led from the start to finish, and let's see if he can hang on and do a great drive. Of course, he lost the race win on penalties last week, but now he can really bring himself into contention for the championship if he can get this win under his belt. And Caraton will, of course, close up the gap to Preschneider in the championship, as well as Idawu, who follows behind. But there was just a point between them heading into this round, and Idawu is now just making sure that gap is minimised. But Donoso, look at that, out of DRS, and he's now going to have some big pressure from Preschneider and Nicholas Mateo, who runs in 6th but with a penalty as well. So that's going to hurt his chances. Preschneider also doesn't have a penalty, so he runs 4th at the moment. So he is really minimising the damage as much as he can. But he really needs right now is for something to happen up front. And Moreno, Caraton, Idawu to have maybe a big old scrap so he can get himself involved now.
He can indeed, and certainly with this contingent of cars, things are going so... It's so tough, Jack. I mean, the pace is starting to hot up here now towards the end of this race. Time penalty applied yet again, this time to Floris Viers, who is down in P9. Now, that's crucial, Jack, because that will allow the 2 Alpha Tauris surely to creep up a spot themselves.
Well, Jake has a 5-second penalty, so he'll actually stay where he is, but it'll promote Johannan up 3 places. So Johannan currently, if he stays where he is, will end up in 8th place, as far as we can see at the moment. So he's doing a nice job sitting where he is. But we go now. 2 laps to go across the line. It's got to be basically now or never for Caraton to try and get a move done on Moreno. Through the Casio Triangle they come. Once again, he's close. 0.4 of a second this time by, and he has DRS. Moreno now, he will hold on to his ERS, and he's going to use every ounce of it on the next lap to stay in front of Caraton. It's going to take a big mistake for Moreno to give this to Caraton, and it'll be, unless something drastic happens, another 2nd place. Jake Benham on Lewis Welch. Easy move into turn 1 for him, and he moves into 9th on track, but that will not stand because of the 5-second penalty. He will fall behind, so it will be Johannan getting those positions at the end. But Caraton, he's close again. It's going to be probably another 2nd place for Caraton, and he's just not quite able to get that win. It just always seems to be Moreno who gets in front of him somehow.
Yeah, well, Nicholas Mateo on a charge as well. He's literally trying to lay everything he can into Philip Presneder to at least get something done on track as they come round the hairpin bend. The Ferrari car is in jeopardy because he's at the mercy here of this young Spaniard driver, certainly. And there you can see Presneder outside of the second gap there for Fabrizio Donoso, who has driven a superb race as well in P4 as they now make their way up towards the next spoon curve. Now there is the red Ferrari in behind as well. Nicholas Matteo, who might get a chance to pounce here around the 130R as we now ride on board. There you can see the distance. It's literally minimal. I say minimal. The prancing horse is really in trouble here. You get the feeling that a move could potentially be made on the home stretch. Just look how close the slipstream is getting him here. He's got literally no ERS left. Has this young man. Nicholas Matteo, a bit of a tap on the rear there. A love tap from the Williams as they exit the Casio Triangle chicane. And just look at the tyres. 29% here on the rear left. But peekaboo, I see you, he says. Goes past Philip Presneder heading down the stretch. And that moves Matteo up a spot.
Yeah, great stuff. Very measured from Nicholas Matteo, but of course he has a penalty, so Presneder didn't really need to fight that. But we saw down the front straight, Moreno gave it everything with the ERS and is able to stay in front and defend from the DRS of Caraton. So it's going to take a mistake from Moreno to give this win to Caraton in this late phase. Down through the middle sector they come. For the last time, they've just pulled a 2-second gap on Idawu. At the same time, he's just holding station. At the moment, he's happy with third as they come through the hairpin, down towards Spoon Curve for the last time, using up the overtake. But Moreno is hanging on and has led from lights to flag, basically. And all it takes now is if he keeps it together through these last few corners, he will secure himself another win to add to the tally. Down towards 130 for the final time, using up the last of the ERS that he's got left, as has Caraton. He's got more in the tank than Caraton. Nothing the other Spaniard could do about it. Through 130 for the last time here at Suzuka. Dominance at the front of this grid. Round the Casio Triangle for the last time around the final corner. It is victory at Suzuka. It's Danny Moreno, he wins the Japanese Grand Prix in front of Alvaro Caraton, Josh Idawu in third, and it will be Philip Presneder on penalties in fourth, Donoso fifth, Matteo, Ruben Vallejo, and Joe Hannan gets himself a seventh, and Ruben Vallejo in front, and Dylan Warren returns to the points in ninth place in front of Lewis Welch, who gets points by a mere 2/10 of a second. But great job from the Racing Points, recovering to 8th and 9th once again. But Danny Moreno, nobody could touch him.
No, they could not. The machine, Danny Moreno, does it again. Winner here at PSGL. Gets himself the victory here at Suzuka. Absolutely brilliant stuff. Joe Hannan is the game's driver of the day, of course, but we want to hear from you as to who you thought your driver of the day was. But what a drive from Danny Moreno. Absolutely comprehensive around the circuit of Suzuka. And there, of course, Alvaro Caraton, a great drive to hold on to second place. Josh Idawu, a superb P3. Absolutely brilliant stuff. They spray the champagne, Jack, but I get the feeling that you've got, without question, Danny Moreno, your driver of the day?
Lights the flag. I mean, it's pretty easy for that one. I mean, he had to work hard as well with Caraton all over the back of him, but definitely, yeah, Danny Moreno, lights to flag victory. Caraton stayed where he was, as did Idawu, so they finished as they started in this Grand Prix. But Josh Idawu returning to the podium. Nice to see him back up there after the travesty of Monza that he had. And he recovers well. And but Caraton, crucially, he's now closed the gap to Presneder in the championship. And Josh Idawu as well, going with him, closing the gap to Presneder. Just a small amount, but that's what counts in the end.
Absolutely. Let's run through them. Danny Moreno, quite right, winner of the Japanese Grand Prix. Alvaro Caraton, P2. Josh Idawu back on the podium, P3. Philip Presneder, P4. Fabrizio Donoso, P5. Nicholas Matteo, P6. Joe Hannan, P7. Ruben Vallejo, P8. Dylan Warren, P9. Louis Welch, P10. Jake Benham, P11. Dario Iamulo there in P12. And there you've got Andreas Dormeyer, P13. Floris Viers, P14. Tom Martinez, P15. Jorge Alberola, P16. Yari Fitz, P17. Joshua Kazani was an unfortunate DNF, so was Chanakichi and Domenico Lavecce after that initial problem. But Jack, surprises around every corner, I have to say. I mean, given that the top three pretty much led their own race, you have to look at the midfield. I think that was where the most of the scraps were today.
Yeah, it certainly was. It's actually probably a good marker for real F1. We always look at the midfield for the battles in that one. And yeah, it was good, a great display from the AlphaTauri. Shame for Jake getting the penalty on the way into the pit lane. Could have been a great result for him, just missing out on the points. With a great drive from Johanna, must be said, 14th up to 7th, and kept himself clean of the penalties and got himself a great result for AlphaTauri. But once again, the Racing Points doing a great job, keeping it nice and sensible. It was a 8th place finish for Vallejo and a 9th place finish for Dylan Warren. More points for Racing Point, but a big day as well for Williams with that finish, because that really hots up the constructors. Not a good day for Alfa Romeo. No points for them, but a double point score and a double top 10 finish for the Williams, and that'll really get themselves at the top of the Constructors' Championship.
Yeah, absolutely. Williams have been absolutely brilliant this season. Of course, they've been fighting for the top of the constructors, and they've been doing it superbly well as well. But you've got to give credit to where credit's due, and obviously the professionals at the top, and they do it week in, week out. And you can just tell they are the very best in the business as well. I think Mercedes have a lot to look forward to with the likes of Jana Watmir and Danny Moreno heading into another esports season. You have to give them every credit, as now I believe we have our second place driver currently joining us in the commentary box, Alvaro. Welcome to the commentary box. A great comprehensive race. It seemed to me, though, that it was very, very hard to break the positions through that race.
Yeah, good night. Yes, it was a really hard race. Danny had a lot of pace. They Josh did an undercut to me, so yeah, it was hard, but at the end, Pichu is good.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it certainly was the case that I think Danny was sort of measuring his ERS well. Myself and Jack commented on it in throughout the race. Was it the case that no matter whatever you did, it was going to be P2 because he was just able to sort of break or stay out the slipstream?
I mean, in the last 7 or 8 laps, I tried to save ERS, so don't use it, basically. But yeah, I was surprised that Danny Moreno had such a lot of ERS because he had more wings than me, and he was alone the whole race. So you save less. But yeah, congrats to him because he was the fastest today.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it was a testament to all you guys, really. And qualifying was absolutely brilliant. What was the pressure like towards the end of quali? Because Q3 seemed to hot up a bit. The time started flickering through. Both yourself and Nicholas Matteo. I mean, Nicholas has almost found he's almost been reborn after his win last week. I mean, he's been absolutely sensational as a team. Do you feel that you and Willie, that yourself and Nicholas can drive Williams to the top of the constructors? Because you definitely did that today with 2 great performances.
Yeah, Nicolas has improved a lot this year. He's really fast, and yeah, it's good to have him as a teammate. And yeah, qualifying was tricky because my first lap wasn't that good, still for a Pichu from bunker, but yeah, I made a mistake in sector 2, so Paul maybe was there, but yeah, still it's decent.
Well, absolutely. I think you've got a lot to be pleased about, obviously, now. And I know we keep talking about it, but preparations all okay with Williams? Confidence in the camp, all good? And how is things looking for the Pro Series?
I think you asked this last week as well.
I did. I like to keep updated.
Yeah. Well, I can't say anything. Basically, I'm a Williams esports driver, and I'm looking forward to next year. That's it.
There you are. See, Alvaro Caraton sworn to secrecy, folks, but he has done it yet again. A great podium finish, Alvaro, and we look forward to seeing you there again.
Thank you very much.
I promise you I will not ask you that question next week either.
Yeah, no problem, mate.
Yeah,
no problem.
Yeah, take care. See you. Take care, Alvaro. So, Jack, I mean, I'm not sure if we're going to get any more driver interviews, but I have to say, a very candid Alvaro Caraton definitely sees a lot of confidence in the team. Nicholas Matteo, he says, in his own words, improved a lot. And what does that mean for Williams towards the end of this season?
Well, I'm sure that we know the esports teams keep an eye on league racing, so maybe Nicholas has caught their eye. We'll have to wait and see in due course. But he's obviously been told to keep quiet on the plans for Williams for the F1 Esports Pro Series. But I'm looking forward to seeing what they've got in hand, got underway. But it's looking really good for them. But really, it's really going to hot up now. We of course. I believe we're heading to the French Grand Prix in the next race, and we should have Jarno back with us for that. So we'll have the very, very great prospect of Moreno versus Otmir. And at some point, we hope that Barry will be back with us as well. I know he's eager to get back at some point, but we should have Jarno back with us for France, and that's going to be a great race. I can't wait for that one.
Yeah, I have to say, France, a very, very good prospect, because if you think about it, a flat surface, it's just pure speed, and you've got the fastest guys in the F1 sim racing community, literally, that are going to be going hammer and tongs around that track. And I'd imagine we're going to be seeing no end of maneuvers there. The slipstreams are so effective. The DRS is absolutely vital around a track like France. Is it a case that it's going to be, literally a slingshot race? You're going to see a driver tackle P1 and then move down to P2. Is it going to be an onslaught? Is it going to be a battle, Jack? Give us a preview heading into France.
I think what we're going to see something very similar to what we saw today, because such a fast circuit that you're going to see those slipstream chains come in, and it really will all come down to that final lap again, because it's all about who looks after the ERS the best, looks after the ERS the best, and can slingshot their way up down the back straight, up the hill into the right hander. It is going to be a race of strategy, looking after the tires, but I think qualifying in particular there is going to be very, very important. Whoever leads into turn 1 has a massive advantage. So we'll wait and see what happens, but it's going to be interesting. But remember, of course, it is in 2 weeks' time, not next week. We're taking a week break. We'll be back for France on April the 8th. I'm looking forward to bringing you all the action from there.
Absolutely. It's going to be in a couple of weeks. That is when we're going to be seeing the French Grand Prix. And we'll look forward to bringing that to you as well. Myself and Jack will be in the com box, bringing you all the action yet again, like we really enjoy doing so, and certainly have done so far this season. But folks, like I said before, please check out the PSGL Twitter account as well. There you'll be able to vote for your driver of the day for today's Japanese Grand Prix. So make sure you vote, because the drivers are counting on you for your decisions. Also, you can check me out as well. I am at George Morgan TV. I'm on Twitter. You can check me out on there. You can also check out Jack as well. Jack C. Comms, Jack, where they can find all your bits and pieces that you're doing on your Twitter profile.
Absolutely, yeah. If you really want to do that, go ahead. But yeah, it's at Jack C. Comms if you want to follow me on Twitter. But I wouldn't if I were you. I'm quite boring, so don't bother.
Well, Jack, I have to say, I know they've been contributing to this Christmas night out, but guys, you're going to have to invest a lot more money, because Jack's Irish, as you might not have told that, but he's an expensive night out as a result, aren't you, Jack?
Yeah. Yeah, we're gonna need. Well, don't take this seriously. We're just gonna need some more money off you guys. I need double the amount of the alcohol that everyone else needs. But yeah, get on it, lads. Jack, get the Christmas party underway, because
I will say this before we go. There is Fabrizio Donoso in the waiting room, so let's move into the comms box. Guys, a bit of a late gasp. Fabrizio Donoso, welcome to the commentary box.
Thank you. Yeah, sorry, I'm a bit late.
No, it's okay. I'm glad you came by. We missed you. I have to say, a great race, Fabs. I have to say, and I have to say for yourself, great maneuver heading down the long straight, and the race seemed to have all fallen into place. Very difficult to get out of that DRS train, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was really difficult to try anything from the guys in front. I think we all had very similar pace between Alvaro, Danny, Josh, and myself, and even behind with Philip and Nicolas. It's always hard to overtake in Suzuka if you don't have the pace advantage, which I didn't have today. But yeah, it was a great move on Philip. A bit risky on that corner to go for the inside, because there's the grass and you can spin around. But I think we touched wheels as well, so it was quite on the limit. But yeah, Philip was clever to leave the space as well and be fair on the battle.
Oh no, I think it was a great move. It's exquisite. It's just what we want to see here on PSGL. Absolutely brilliant. I mean, myself and Jack were watching it with bated breath to wait and see what would happen. But no, sensational. And he managed to hold the car around the corner as well, because it like you say, you're quite right. It's very risky, those sorts of moves, because the longer they last, it tends to lead to more trouble, doesn't it? Heading around bends like that.
Yeah, especially on that turn 1, if you carry if you carry that momentum with the ERS, the DRS, and the slipstream that I had from Alvaro in front, because Philip moved to the right, it's quite hard to make the turn carrying the speed because the rear just snaps. Thankfully, yeah, I just managed to make it around the outside, to stick it around the outside, and I had just enough ERS to have a little push before the left that follows that the turn one. So yeah, it was really on the limit, but as I said earlier, the pace was similar, so I had to make that move earlier than I would have liked to, because then it's just a train and the guy ahead saves battery and it's impossible to overtake. So yeah, that was the only great racing I had this race, because I couldn't really battle the guys ahead. But yeah, it was good fun. It was good fun.
Yeah, no, it looked brilliant. I have to say, Fabs, you seem like a different human being. I mean, I'm looking at you now on track. Is the pace rising? Are we seeing a new Fabrizio Donoso heading this season into the Pro Series?
I think so. Yeah, I mean, I'm working for it. I'm seeing the improvements. Still need to improve myself when it matters, because times in practice are always good. But yeah, I need to start improve a little bit more when it counts in the actual session. But I'm very happy with the way I'm driving lately. I improved for sure a lot. Taking a 2 months break was only but good. So yeah, I'm happy, and I'm enjoying driving, which is the most important thing right now. At this stage of the game, it's quite surprising to say that, because we've had myself, I have had 700 hours on the game, and to still
Wow.
enjoy yes, to still enjoy driving, it's quite surprising even to me. So yeah, I hope to keep on building the momentum and preparing myself for next year.
Well,
I mean,
I have to
next
say,
season.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, I have to say, I still rewatch the 2017 Pro Series Grand Finale to this day, and I have to say, there was not a grand final quite like that, was there? That first one was special because it was yourself, Brendan, and Sven, and obviously, we would love. I think many people would love to see you back at the top end as well, challenging with the best of them. So let's hope we get some of that this season. I really hope we do. But no, you deserve a lot of credit, Fabs. Incredible pace today, mate. Great effort, great overtake on Philip Prejnader. And I hope we'll see you again in the podium echelons.
Yes, thank you, George. Pleasure.
Thank you, Fabrizio. Jack, another man with confidence, and great to see the rebirth of Fabrizio Donoso.
Absolutely, yeah, great to have him on the grid as always. But yeah, looking forward to 2 weeks' time as well. As we mentioned, of course, we'll be taking a week break, heading to France for the next one at that great Paul Ricard circuit with the biggest runoff of the championship. There's plenty of space there. There's lots of slipstreaming opportunities. It's actually quite similar to Suzuka in some ways, a little bit more tight and twisty in places, but very high speed. And looking forward to it as well. It's incredibly fun in the rain as well. If we get maybe a dry to wet race, that can really do something. And we know from experience that also goes well at France.
Oh, he does. Yes, he's brilliant at it. Obviously, speaks French as well. And I have to say, we'll have to keep an eye on him because I think he's one to watch. He's improving all the time. And yet again, it just offers a more dynamic and a sensationally dramatic feast, I think, leading towards the end of the championship. We're halfway through, folks. We're going to have a lot more. Like I said, please make sure you check out the socials, folks. Check out PSGL. Don't forget to vote for your driver of the day. Don't forget to add myself and, of course, Jack on Twitter. George Morgan TV here. And Jack C comes for Jack. And we hope to see you next time for the French Grand Prix in 2 weeks' time. Do take care of yourselves. Goodbye.